Good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all. Ma, first one on. James, good morning. How y'all doing? Man, what is this? Tuesday? I feel like it should be Wednesday, but it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, y'all. I'm super duper excited about our guest speaker today, Mr. Dallas Bell. I told y'all he's an amazing guy to know. Let's get Miss Simone on here. Hey, Miss Simone.
Morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Tuesday. I'm like, here we go. What day is it? Happy whatever day it is.
Yo, right. I was just saying, like, it feel like it should be Wednesday. I told you, I'm a TGI Friday person now. So just get me to Friday. Good morning, Cam.
Good morning, Cam. Because like you really were not a TGI Friday, but now
I
you're
wasn't.
a whole shirt, a heart.
Yo, all my days used to be the same. Not no more. Not. I still work on the weekends, but the week is a totally different beast now.
It really is. It is truly a marathon and not a sprint every day.
Man,
All right.
you are not even lying. Did he date Chili off of TLC? Um, no, I don't think so.
Who is this? Usher?
No, he's talking about our guest speaker today, Dallas.
Oh,
He's a Yeah, he's a producer, so he's worked with a lot of big name people, but I don't think he dated Chili. I'm almost pretty sure he's too young to have dated Chili. He was a baby.
I am hollering.
But he might have pictures and stuff with him, but yeah, nah, he was definitely a baby. Hey Lamar, good morning. Ari, consistent Ari, good morning. We are here, but I'm excited though to have him though, because he's a good guy with a great story. Talk about somebody who is still so humble and like I knew him before the fame. Like, so to see him grow into it and just still be humble is just so amazing.
No, that's really, really, because like you said, when I first met him too, he was like, "Yeah, Michonne told me that you were working with HeartSmiles. So nice to me, so nice and laid back." And then you just feel you learn more and more, and I'm like, "Oh, that was this is your studio."
It's yeah, and started in his mother's basement.
That's awesome.
Like, yo, I remember this dude did not sleep. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. But yo, this dude did not sleep for days, yo. It was still coming, working his butt off.
That's what I'm talking about. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo,
Love to
amazing.
because
Amazing. Good morning, Q.
Keith.
Q is hit.
Oh, you. Oh,
Q. No, not Q. Q. And you know what? And good morning, hardcore. What's up? What's up? Did Q play us?
no. Why did?
Cause I feel like last week she said she was gonna come on with you. Did
Yeah.
she not? Or did I make that up?
No, she did. Cute. Okay. Come on. We're gonna set it up. We're gonna set it up. Oh, cute.
Yo,
Johnny found you.
no, because I'm like, hold on, did she pull a fast one?
No. That was me too. I'm gonna read Q. What are you doing on Thursday? On Thursday. No, seriously, Thursday is our day.
Hey yo. Hey, Simone did the little wink.
I've been trying to do my wink, y'all. I'm not gonna lie.
Because I was on there, I had got it wrong. I thought it was Miss Mo. I was on there with Miss Mo, and Miss Mo ain't know what I was talking about. And I said, you know what? I said, let me bring this back tomorrow. I said, it's probably Miss Simone there. But I remember we was talking about all this wisdom and knowledge and stuff that she got because her comments really be fire. So I'm like, yo, that's what we need.
Oh, very cute. Okay.
Now she's trying to say, yeah, she wants to. We gotta set it up.
Okay, we're gonna
Okay,
set it up.
Thursday.
I'm gonna call you. We're gonna set it up. Don't worry.
All right, she said, okay, Thursday. You're trying to pull a fast one, yo. Listen.
Yo, we're gonna have a good lineup because I think hardcore is gonna come back tomorrow with the fire. Then we'll have Q, and then Nira said she'll come on Friday and talk more about.
Yeah, that's a
This will be good.
powerful lineup.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited. So,
Yeah. 11D Smith, good morning. Good morning.
funny.
Yeah, no problem, Q. Got to get you up out of that show.
I
Yeah.
can't wait because it's always the
Get
quiet
that
ones.
knowledge and wisdom. Yo, the quiet ones had a most inside of them. You see Ma, he's a perfect example of that. Nobody would have ever thought, yo, that he was so brilliant. Nobody would have, and I'm not even trying to slide you. I'm just being real. Like nobody would have ever thought because you keep it tucked away. Like you can't do that. The world needs that.
Out, bring it out. Yeah, y'all know I have a couple quotes. I'll just tell you guys. I will do it again because I can't keep it to myself. But I saw this yesterday that I wanted to share with y'all. And it says, "You owe it to yourself to become everything you've ever dreamed of being." And I'm like, oh, that is so
Mm,
powerful. I really
mm,
like that. I'm like, yes, you do. Don't let anyone or anything tell you that you owe it to yourself to be everything you're called to be. And when you just sit back
yes.
and you think about life and like, what do you want to leave and what do you have to lose by going after your dreams? Like we only have a little bit of time on this earth, so we're going to spend it well and try to do all the things that we dreamed of doing. So
I
inspired me.
love it. Thank you so much, Miss Simone.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not playing. You got to tell yourself these, you got to speak these things over your life. Keep yourself motivated and positive because it's easy to get distracted, tired, discouraged. The list goes on.
Hmm. You
Okay.
ain't even lying. I gotta go find my homeless friend and get him on here to talk.
Oh, wow. That would be awesome.
Yo, when I tell you, this man is powerful. He used to be like, not that he not something now, but you know what I mean. Like he really used to be like out there. I think he was something like a teacher or something like that, and he owned a business like doing really, really well for himself. Like he like was living the best life you could possibly imagine. And you know what took him down? Drugs.
No.
Drugs. He went from taking care of his family, his wife, his kids, taking care of his parents, and all that to not having nothing to his name, living on the streets, all because of drugs. And he was like, the first time that he like tried the drugs, he didn't think that he was going to get hooked. He was like, people like me don't get hooked on drugs. He was just trying it at whatever party he was at. He
No.
tried it that first time, couldn't let it go, lost everything. And I would have never known that if I had to like really had a conversation with him because I was just giving them food. It wasn't even really nothing serious. It was like some candy bars or something like that. I was giving to him and the girl, and he just started talking to me. And I'm just like, for real? And like, I'm just like, wow,
I know.
wow, drugs.
I'm telling a lot of people don't know, but like that's why people are homeless and on the street. Cause sometimes people are like, I don't understand. Like that it wouldn't be me. I'm gonna do everything else before you catch me on the street. And there's all kinds of circumstances, but I realize more and more it's a lot of people who have a drug
Yeah.
addiction because it's really like a sickness illness. Like you're not in your right state of mind. You do it that one time and it can take over your whole life and your body and you lose everything. Or
Mhm.
who have mental health illness. But I'm like, yeah, these drugs are no joke, y'all. And all it
Yeah.
takes is one, jeez,
And
one
that's it.
one time, and then everything you worked for, everything you had envisioned for yourself is gone. And it's not to say you can't get back up on your feet, but it takes a lot because it's
Yeah.
no joke.
You ain't lying. That's why when I was thinking this morning, I was just thinking like you gotta be addicted to the right things in life. Like,
Mm,
be addicted to your goals, be addicted to success, be addicted to seeing other people grow. Like, and like, if you had that strong of a conviction, it ain't no way you gonna fail in life. It ain't no way that you ain't gonna be able to live the type of lifestyle that you want to live or do the things you want to do.
exactly. I love that mission. It's like be risky with your dreams on the right stuff. Don't
Yeah,
on the stuff that's going to take you out. And this is not, that is nothing but the devil trying to
nothing
entice
but the
you
devil.
and get you distracted, and make you feel a little high or a little fun or a little this, all for that little bit of time and all of this lifetime of success and stuff that I don't think it is worth it for that little bit of time.
Hmm.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, when this Rona over, I'm gonna go find him.
Yes, please. I can't wait. I was like, wait, let me go get. I was wondering how you were gonna do that. I'm like, are you gonna take the Zoom out on the streets?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to be. We're gonna be like this. I'm gonna have to be.
Have a whole production. All right, Miss Joni, just wear your mask, okay? Wash your hands.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna have to. Look, it's worse stuff out there. I just hope he's still at the same place. Miss Simone, you crazy. What are we talking about today? You crazy.
Just cover and protect the people. Okay, y'all. Whew. Laughter's good for the soul. All right. Today we have a banger for y'all. I'm really excited about this because this is something I've been working on, and I feel like we could all, learn from this because, everyone says the phrase communication is key, but I'm like, throw that away. Effective communication is key, okay? Because you could just talk, 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 talk. If you're not understanding the person not understanding you, nothing is getting accomplished. If we have effective communication, that will help us grow, be understood, move forward in our lives, and get our messages across. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me do a little screen share so we can get it.
Like that, Miss Simone. That's right in line with a book that I have. It's on my to-do list to read. And it's by John Maxwell, definitely one of my favorite authors. And it's everyone communicates, few people connect.
Miss Joni.
Yeah, like that's exactly kind of I feel like where you at with that. So
Yeah,
it's right
no,
on point for me.
absolutely. And I be trying so hard not to go ahead of the slides that I make, but I can't wait because I get so excited to tell y'all these things that I learned. Because when I'm reading it, I'm like, yes, duh. Why didn't I think of this? I can't wait to tell the heartbeats. But a lot of the stuff they were saying about effective communication was not even about talking, it was about listening. And how to be an effective communicator, you have to listen because you have to understand what people are saying to you so that you can respond with the right message, and then you can connect and you can go deeper. And they were even talking about how like silence is an important part of effective communication because you give people time to listen, process, and instead of you trying to fill the awkward silence with things that aren't meaningful like or just rambling, which I need to work on, but that's fine, y'all. We're a work in progress. You allow people to like really dig deeper and like allow them to tell you what they really wanted to tell you instead of you just like filling up all the space, which is back and forth, back and forth. So today we're gonna go through this. Hopefully it's helpful and we can even do a deeper dive if y'all feel like you need some more. But I feel like I could just give a quick overview of what effective communication is, some examples, and then we'll talk. So I wanted to give y'all a definition of effective communication, and it says it's the process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, knowledge, and information in the best possible way so that it is understood by the receiver, which I felt like is key, like everyone kind of understands when you're communicating, you either want to get a message across, your ideas, you want to express yourself something, and you want to do it in a way that is effective and understood by the receiver. So you are the sender, pretty much. You're the one who's giving out some kind of idea, thought. And then there's someone on the other end or a group of people on the other end that you hope that they would understand exactly what you're trying to say. And this comes up a lot of the time, like in writing. And what I'm realizing is like we're all in our heads, but no one else is like in your head. So when you're communicating, you have to think of it as like, they don't know what I'm saying. They don't know all the thoughts that I have in my mind. So how can I organize it and process it in a way so that when I tell it to the other person, it's like they're a fly on the wall in my mind. And now they kind of see where I'm coming from, how I'm feeling, all the things that are going on. They get like a sneak peek. So you can't assume that people just know what you're saying automatically, especially using like kind of filler words like you know what I mean. Oh, that one is it's hard, but you can't if you say you know what I mean. It's a good way to like ask people, do they understand you? But you should always use it as a question. Don't use it as a filler word, like, yeah, you know what I mean, da, 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 and you go on to the next sentence. It's like, wait, no, 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 no. I don't know what you mean. So tell me more. So yeah, that's effective communication. So there's three types of communication. There's verbal communication, nonverbal communication, and written communication. So verbal communication is like, the talking, speaking, how you talk, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that. Nonverbal communication is like your body language, eye contact, facial expressions, all of that stuff that's like you can still kind of talk to someone without being able, kind of like when you play charades and you're not allowed to speak, but you're still like acting things out. That's how you can kind of get your messages across or enhance them. And then there's written communication, emails, text messages, posters, all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can get an understanding a little bit deeper about what each of these three mean, how we can enhance the things that we need to work on in our lives with each part of the communication, and just go from there so we can be better understood. So, verbal communication, your tone. Oh, I love this one because I say it all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. This goes a long way. And I'm going to do some examples because it really helps you to see sometimes outside looking in, because sometimes we're too close to ourselves and you can recognize it in someone else. But if you can recognize it in someone else, hopefully you can see it in yourself. So when you think about tone, it's all about like, if I came on the live show in the morning and I was like, hey, y'all, good morning. How are you doing? Like, even if I was smiling too, hi, how are you? Good. Like, it just is not, it's not matching all the things. So you really have to, these things are really used to enhance like your message. Think about it as like a performance, like a presentation to the world, just like how you get dressed and you want to have like a certain, like when someone sees you, they can kind of tell the vibe you have that day. The same with like the way you speak and your tone. And not to say you have to be like super excited all the time or, you know, but also like don't be angry all the time. Have some range in your tone so people can really understand how you're feeling, especially now that we're not like together in person. Sometimes we have to have more phone calls with people. And so like if you're talking on the phone, it can get like that's the only way people can, they can't see your face, they can hear your tone. And it kind of goes with your energy too. Like tone and energy kind of go hand in hand. So especially if like you're presenting or you're supposed to be like engaged in a conversation, you really want to think about like, how do I sound? Like what is it giving off? Is my energy upbeat? Is my tone in line with like the things that I want to communicate? Usually when you get passionate about something, you get a little bit louder, you're excited, you're energized. So kind of think about those things. And I know it's how, some people are just soft spoken and like, that's fine too. But just if you're soft spoken, try to be a little louder. Like it might sound like you're screaming, but you never want people. I get this all the time. Like, some of our quieter people, like you're not powerful just because you're quiet. Lift your voice. So you don't have to be the all energetic person in the room, but doing little things like even just being a little bit louder with your message and like using a little bit of energy on those parts that are really important to you that you really want to get across, and maybe doing some inflection in your voice because you don't want to be just so monotone, because sometimes like people just feel like they don't care or It's just kind of the same thing. And then they start tuning out. So you want to do a little bit of inflection in your voices. You want to bring energy to the parts that you really want people to listen to. And you want to make sure your tone really matches how you're feeling, and then you want to reduce. Oh, I just did that. I'm like, so I hope that you guys, this is a pause for a do you understand, not just, but hey, we're all working. So reduce filler words, stuff like yeah, all of that. It's so hard. Like a practice example is like getting with a friend and talking to them and telling them to clap every time you say or a filler word. I did that one time and it really messed me up because you're just talking, especially for people who are just talkers, blah, 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 blah. I know I need to slow it down sometimes. So it's easy to get caught up in the ums, but if you do that, oh crap, if you do the example and you're very intentional about it, you can see how much you do it. And then it allows you to like kind of slow down, adjust, really think about your words and what you want to say so that you can get your message across and it's not just blah, 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 blah. You can be concise and to the point. And then this one is key. Silence equals active listening. So a lot of the times with communication, especially when you're talking to somebody, you want to fill up the awkward silence in the airspace. Or you're just thinking about what they're saying half of the time so that you can also have a response for as soon as they're done. So I know it can be weird and a little uncomfortable, y'all, but I'm trying to do a better job at really being silent and just listening just to listen. And even after the person's done talking, you can say like, oh, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm just taking a moment to process everything that you said so I can give you like a quality response. Even if you just want to say like take a break, a pause, or even if you want to start out in the beginning, letting people know, setting expectations. I'm really trying to do a better job of actively listening. So if I seem a little quiet, during our conversation, it's not because I'm not listening. It's really because I'm trying to do a better job at listening and not just talking as soon as you're done talking. Um, so they say like give some time for silence after you're done, like after someone says something, kind of pause, think, reflect, ask questions about anything that you didn't understand. So you can go back, remember when you said that part, what did you mean by that? Like, can you get a little bit deeper? Can you explain yourself a little bit more? Because like you said, you want the person to understand you, and people also want to be understood. I think you said this too, like you hear me, but do you understand me? Like we all just want to be heard and also understood. I feel like that's when we get frustrated and we feel like we're talking and no one's listening. So that one is key, and it's supposed to bring better connection to your relationships too, because you're getting deeper, you're asking questions, you like know where the person's coming from. It's like richer relationships and communication. So then your nonverbal communication is your facial expressions. So like your tone and your facial expressions, they say really help you to communicate your emotions, because when you're talking with someone, you have to know like how they're feeling, what's going on. Another part of communication is being able to kind of read the vibe of the conversation that you're having. If someone is really excited and you just have like a stone face in your monotone, it kind of brings down the energy, right, of the conversation. So you have to know that like this is like what you're projecting is really, really important to the conversation and the role you play. So just being attentive of it, y'all know a smile goes a long way. It just kind of welcomes people. If you want to talk, if you want to listen, smiling at someone kind of invites them in. If you're not really in the best mood, maybe you'll smile a little bit and then you just communicate with that person so they know like, hey, nothing against you. I'm just not feeling my best today. Can we talk another time? But if you have a stone face all the time and you wonder why no one's talking to you, I mean, it's not very welcoming, right? Like you have to kind of think about those things. But also like overly smiling could be too much too. Like it's always a balance. So I always say like go in the mirror, And have a conversation with yourself, y'all. Like, see like those things that you can't see that you normally wouldn't. Or I really am appreciating some of these Zoom meetings, because when I'm usually in a meeting, I can't always tell how I'm looking. But now I can see my face and I'm like, oh, Simone, this is what you're looking like, honey. Okay. They can tell you're not paying attention. They can tell when you're making a face. And y'all all know, like, it's easy to just like, someone says something that's off and you're like, huh? But just try to, like really think about those facial expressions, because it's communicating something even when you're not saying something. And then body language. This one is key too, because it's all about like your posture. If someone's talking to you and you have your arm closed like this, can you guys see this? And like I can be smiling, but still, do you feel super open and welcome when I'm like this? Or if I'm like this and I'm here and I'm ready to present and talk to you? So, like, all of it kind of goes together. So, even if you're smiling and you have your arms crossed, like, that's kind of a signal to people that you don't really want to be bothered. You're kind of closing off your body, you're restricted, things like that. So, even just trying to do a better job of like relaxing, releasing, kind of standing up straight. A lot of people do this, which is like, it just kind of looks like you're bored, like you're tired. But if you're really thinking, and maybe that's just, but maybe like you could do this, just a little something so that you're a little bit more upright. You're kind of lifting your chin. If this is just how you think and you feel like you need a little something to hold your head up, just different things in like this versus this. I'm trying to think of what other body language, even just sitting upright. Like, I'm just thinking about a classroom and how some people like lean like this over. It just, all of that plays a part into how you're presenting yourself. A lot of the times, you would never know if I'm not paying attention in a meeting. Oh, please don't let anybody that I work with be on this. But at least it's because if you just sit up and you look straight and we do a smile every once in a while, that is like, y'all, play the game. Don't be sitting like this and like this and like this. And it just like, even if you're doing something to keep you up straight, because people can tell, your body language, it's all a part. And then eye contact. Don't need to stop laughing. Because it's true, y'all. There's not always going to be times where you want to be engaged, but you have got to play the part. You are your personal brand everywhere you go. So you need to sit up and you need to look at something that's close to the presenter. Like, eye contact is so key. And I know it can get weird sometimes too, because I've seen it done really well and really bad, where people just stare you down in your eye and it's creepy. Please don't be the creepy person. What I try to do is like find maybe like a point on their cheek or something close to their eyes that I can look at. So I'm not like staring them dead in their face, but I'm still looking in that direction, because eye contact is key. People want to know it, like it's a clear sign to show that you're engaged, you're listening, you see the person. And something I learned the other day too is like, even when you're on video, y'all know I'm still working, like try not to get too close and back up. They say you really shouldn't look at your screen. You should look at the exact part of the camera, because if you're looking at your screen, it shows to the people that you're looking down. But if you look like straight into your screen when you're on Zoom and you look at the camera, like that's how you make eye contact there. So it's important when you're on video calls. It's important when you're talking to people. And it's okay to like look away a little bit, because like I said, you don't want to be staring people dead in their face and making it uncomfortable and weird, but just trying to be attentive, looking at them in some kind of vicinity. Or even if there's like a speaker who's standing up and speaking, just at least looking around, maybe at the podium, at the wall behind them, just something to show that you're engaged and not looking elsewhere. Okay. And then written communication. Um, I always say you should read it out loud after you type something, because again, it's so easy to be in your own head and it makes sense in your head. But if you read it out loud, it really shows like how someone else will be reading it. You can catch some of those mistakes if it like doesn't really flow, if there's a word missing. It just kind of helps you to slow down too when you're like typing and texting so quickly. And then it says, have someone review it before you send it. So that's always good practice. I still do that sometimes when I'm working. If I have to send an email to a lot of people, I'll try to see if someone can review it for me. And then after a while, you'll start getting the hang of it where you won't even need someone to review it for you. But, when you're writing, it's okay to have someone come behind you and just kind of understand and see, is this ask them is, do you understand? What do you get after you read this? And see if they, understand your message clearly by what they perceive it to be. Also, stay clear on your message. Like I always try to ask myself, what is the main point I want to say? And I have to stop myself from doing the fillers and trying to da da da. So, what do you want to say? Say that. I'll type it out first. And then maybe given the context of the situation, I'll add, a beginner, a ender, anything else, but try to be clear in my message and make sure I get that out first so it doesn't get lost in the sauce. And then that kind of goes with being concise. You want to like always remember, what do I want to say? That is the thing I need to focus on. Anything else contextually, how does that fit? But let me stay clear on my message. And then this is something that, everyone kind of tells you, I think, even in school, but I'm really starting to realize how important it is now that I'm an adult, is reading is really your best friend because it shows you different words that you might not have known before. It kind of helps you to work on grammar, subject verb agreement. Reading things really stimulates your brain and it helps you to kind of create your own kind of communication and written theory and give you all the tools that you need to do it effectively. So really try to get into a book or read some more articles that you might come across. Just do a little bit of reading every day. That will help you when you're trying to write things to other people. So overall, it's always good to think about your audience when you're communicating to. Is this my friend? Is this a professional? Is this a mentor? Your audience helps you to always shape your message and think about the words you want to use and how you communicate. It also helps you think about how you should communicate with them. Like if it's your friend, then you can text them. But if you have a friend that's not really a good texter and you really want to get a message to them, don't text them, call them, like that's all a part of kind of like this effective communication, right? The whole point, going back to the definition, is making sure the person you're getting the message to understands it. So part of that is knowing their communication style, how they operate, being attentive to their body language, their facial expressions, all of that stuff. So also remember that it's okay to slow down, which I have to work on, y'all. So it's okay to think, breathe, and then speak. A lot of the times it can seem like you're rushing, but it's again that quality over quantity. It's better to have one rich conversation than have the same conversation 15 times and feel like you're getting nowhere because everyone's just talking, talking, talking and not slowing down, being thoughtful about what they want to say, what's their clear message they want to get across, and then speaking. And then again, the key to communication is listening. This just blew my mind because I'm thinking I need to work on all the body language, all the how I say it, how I look, my eye contact. And it's like, yes, all of that is important, but you can get so much farther too if you just listen to people, listen to what they're saying so that you can actually have a quality, valid response. Or if there are some gaps in the conversation that you're really not understanding, you can ask questions to get better clarity from the conversation. So that brings me to the next point. Ask questions if you don't understand. And remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So what are you trying to say? Huh? I don't understand. Don't do that because how would you feel if someone was badgering you about what you're trying to say? Like someone's trying to express themselves, communicate. So just think of ways like, I always say, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I think that was great because you didn't have to share it. There was just one part that I was confused about. If you could tell me a little bit more about what you mean, because I really want to understand you and make sure I have a clear understanding of what you're trying to say. Something like that, just make sure that you're asking in a way where you're trying to get understanding, not demean people or make them feel crazy. Again, that goes with your facial expression too. Like if you ask someone, can you explain a little bit more? What are you saying? Can you explain? You're squinting, looking at them like you're trying to find something on their face. No, you want to understand. You're not trying to squinting, looking at them deeper is not going to help you understand. It's just going to make them shut down, not feel understood, make them feel frazzled, and you're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to go into like people trying to put their ego on the line, and you're not going to have a clear understanding. Yeah, so don't make people feel dumb when they're trying to talk. Make them feel understood or ask questions so that you can understand them, because everyone has something valid to say. And then be present in the conversation. I know it's so hard, especially with phones and technology and social media, but if someone is talking, please try to listen, ask questions, and read kind of those cues, like uh, the most awkward conversation when people aren't really listening. They're just, like someone just said something terrible. And you're like, oh, yeah, And they're like, what in the it goes so bad. Or you can always tell the person when the teacher calls on you and you are going way off topic. We know you weren't listening. It's just awkward. So please try to be present. Be real with yourself. If you feel it getting a little awkward, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I know this is getting awkward. Let me just take a step back. Be present, be real in the conversation, read those cues, look at people's face. If you can tell you're over talking, oversharing, people feel uncomfortable, take a step back, breathe, regroup, all of that. And then the last one is be confident. Like I said, what you have to say is important. And some of the best people, I'm telling you, there'll be people, I have been fooled so many times. I thought they were experts and they knew what they were saying. And I would just listen to them because they were confident. And then I would go back and I'm like, you are wrong. This is a lie. But it's because they were so confident in what they were saying, you couldn't tell them anything. And so a lot of the times I feel like I have to remember when I'm getting up in places and I know what I have to say is important. I have to remember, Simone, you know what you're saying, what you have to say is important. Be confident, because that helps you increase your energy, your tone. And a lot of the time it helps you present your message in a way that people are like, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about. Even if you don't, it makes you seem like you are. So half the battle is being confident, and just putting yourself out there. So the last, where's my last slide? This is the best one. Let me see. Okay, just a second. Okay. Communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bike or typing. If you're willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. And I really like this because, like we said, people used to say communication is key, but it's effective communication is key. And it's something you have to work on all throughout your life, kind of with every person that you interact with. And it can seem like a lot sometimes, but the more you practice, the more it becomes permanent. And the more you start to understand how you're communicating, how other people are communicating, and it truly will improve your quality of life because you won't feel frustrated that people aren't understanding you, or um, or that you're not really understanding people and you're just in the room and life is happening around you, but you don't understand what's going on. So that quote is just to empower everyone that we can all work on it together, take these tips and live them out in our everyday life. All righty. All right.
Yo, I was over here dying, yo. They had me rolling in these comments.
I already know. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's go.
No, but it's so true though. Like everything you saying, like it is just so true. Like, and people think that communication is talking, but exactly what you said, like it's less of talking and more of how you receive and how you really connect with that person. And you can't do that if you're not listening.
You're not, but you have to listen. It's so key. That blew my mind because you hear communication, you just want to, it's all about talking, talking, talking.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, breathe.
Exactly. Stinker had an interesting point. She said that she feel like she talked too fast, and some people say that that makes them feel dumb. Can you speak on that just a little bit? Because I do understand that. Like I don't do it, but like when people say, "Yeah, you talking too fast," so then now they are intimidated by you. And I tell Stinker all the time, slow down.
Yeah, no. Well, first about the other people feel intimidated, that's like on them, okay? But that could also be just like a quick check for you to be like, okay, I don't know why they might feel intimidated. That's on them. But what are some things that I know I can do that in communication they say can be intimidating? So the crossing of the arms, that's a little intimidating. Your facial expressions, like are you how's the tone, the energy? Maybe you might be too loud. Sometimes that can kind of, so just thinking of those things and slowing down is so important. And we can work on that together, Stinka, because I know I talk fast and try to fill up and sometimes I know it's a nervousness, So like really reflect with yourself and think like, why am I nervous? Remind yourself to be confident. What you have to say is important. And then that will help you. You won't have to talk so fast. You can be slow because I feel like a lot of times people try to make, if you talk slow, people think you're dumb. And it's like, no, I'm just really being thoughtful with my word. I don't know why everyone's so quick to rush. That's why we're all running around doing nothing, like a whole bunch of slow down. Don't take up all the time. Like, I feel like I, but y'all be present, be realistic.
Yeah.
To speakers that you like to listen to. That's another one. Like, that you feel like, oh, I could listen to them talk all day and try to think about how they pace themselves, their eye contact. Um, Maybe I use my hands a lot. That kind of helps to remind me to slow down because if I'm just talking, and then I can see it. I'm like, ooh, Simone, you're doing too much. So maybe using your hands and just kind of pacing yourself.
Yeah, and like Coach Johnson is kind of like in that same boat too, because he talk fast and like he'll go on and 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 on, like on and 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 on. But no, Coach Johnson, what I mean when I say be more engaging is to be cognizant that you got to give people a chance to jump in. Like some people are just listening and then they stop listening because you haven't given them a chance to contribute. And like you really just got to be cautious about taking those pauses and asking people, do you have any questions? Or even if they don't have any questions, just asking them, well, what do you think about that? So that way they are still included in that conversation. That's what I mean when I say engagement. And it's really important for people like Coach Johnson and Stinker because y'all have teams of people that work under you. So Stinker with the radio show, like when she's doing her meetings and stuff like that, and giving information to people, you know the information because you came up with it. You and I may have had whatever powwow we had, but they don't know anything about what we talked about. So you got to walk them through each particular step and running through it 100 miles an hour, they not going to get it. So you got to make sure that you are cognizant about just being slow in your delivery and giving people a chance to digest it, as well as giving people a chance to ask questions. And Coach Johnson, with you, you got to just be mindful. Okay, every couple of seconds or every minute or 2 minutes, I'm going to stop and be intentional about asking people to give me input.
Mhm.
Because if you think that you're talking too much, 100% of the time you are talking too much.
That's really and it's
That
and maybe write down what you're gonna say too. Like a lot of people try like use that a little bit as you're trying to build yourself up. Write it down because reading helps you to slow down too. And it can sound a little like choppy at first, but hopefully you won't have to use that the whole time. But that can get you on the right foot to kind of slowing down and pacing yourself. And remember, it's not a rush. It's not about how quick I can talk because I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. It's about being confident and clear in the message and remembering what is my message that I want to get across. Maybe make some bullet points. That's a really a reason why I like slideshows, y'all, because it slows me down. It helps me message because even then I can still go on and talk. So do those aids if you need to write some bullet points down to help you remember your topics. So, but everything
Yeah.
is great, Miss Joni.
No, that's good stuff, Miss Simone. And that too reminds me that as you guys are growing into this, you'll figure out like what your speaking style is. Like how Miss Simone just said, that's why she like PowerPoints. It slows her down. Me, I don't do PowerPoints. I like them from other people. Like I like Miss Simone's because Miss Simone's don't feel like a PowerPoint. But like anybody who has saw like most stuff that I did, like I don't do PowerPoints because my style is more conversational, regardless of what I'm teaching about or what I'm doing. That's just my style. And like how Miss Simone says, her bullet points keep her on track. For me, questions from the audience and engaging with the audience is what keeps me on track. I would die if it was mandatory for me to do a PowerPoint every single time I had to do something. I do PowerPoints sometimes. Like when I got like a 7, 8 hour training because they so long and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything, I will do like a few slides, but not heavy on words, maybe just like a picture or something that will trigger my mind on what I'm supposed to be talking about. And then I'll go back to my tactic of engaging the audience and answering their questions. And before they know it, they done trained themselves for real. So you gotta really understand like what your style is. And Cam said sometimes when she slow down, it makes her feel like she's dumb when she listened to it.
No, see, that we have to take that out of our mind because that is not true. It's okay to be thoughtful and slow with your message. And like, I think that kind of goes like you do have to prep yourself and do some work thinking about how you talk, what do you want to say? And that kind of helps you to build your confidence. Like, I already know what I'm going to say. This is the message. This is how I'm going to walk people through my thought process. And I'm going to do it in a way where they can understand and hear me. Like, don't, no, it's okay to, I rather listen to someone who's a little bit slow and I can understand what they're saying than it just be rushed and we missed everything and we're just confused. But I feel you. It is hard to kind of slow down because like no one wants awkward silence or feel dumb. But
Yeah, and think about this too, y'all. Even the most professional speakers, I mean, you're talking about like presidents and politicians, everybody is given the same message when you enter this world of like public speaking. And the message is speak to third graders.
mm,
Everything you say, everything you write, the way you deliver should be in the way that a third grader can understand you. And that's how you know that you're hitting a mark in terms of public speaking. If a third grader can't understand you, then maybe you don't understand it well enough to be communicating it, or you really need to take a look back at how you're delivering it. So that was one like important thing that I had learned when I had first started, like just like learning about public speaking and all that stuff. Fortunately for me, it was just kind of like a gift. So like even when I was learning about it, a lot of those principles and things I was already doing. I just didn't have a real term like to put to it. And I remember one of my homeboys, DJ Five Star, actually, he took me to a Toastmasters. I had no idea what Toastmasters was or anything like that. And he just took me on a humble, it was my first time. And by the time I was leaving, the person who was teaching asking me that I wanted to teach. And the Toastmasters is like the top of the line public speaking program. Like people pay thousands of dollars to be a part of that to learn how to publicly speak. And they take you through all these exercises and do all these things to groom you to be like this grand public speaker. And that was my first time ever going. And the guy was like, you need to be a teacher. You need to be a trainer. And I said, sir, I'm just now hearing about y'all 10 minutes ago.
I don't know what this is. I don't. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, right, right. But no, it's definitely cool for people who it doesn't come natural to. And I can understand, why it doesn't come natural for a lot of people. But, you got to understand, even when I was at McDonald's, I was a boss. So I had to communicate. Yeah, I had to hold meetings. I had to be able to talk to angry customers and all that stuff. So I got my training like just in life.
Yeah, that's so good, y'all. And the best training is practicing and getting and doing it in your everyday life. That's why it's like, even if you're just talking to your friend, all the way up to if you're presenting to thousands of people, really try to understand your communication style, things that you do, things that you can work on, practice, that really, really helps. And like learn, read, watch speakers that you like Miss Tony said. And another thing, don't let everyone who speaks sometimes is nervous. So I don't know about y'all, but it really helps to disarm me and calm me down. When I start getting nervous, I have to tell Simone, half these people, first of all, are probably not going to be listening because we're not good listeners. I'm sorry. That's the first thing.
You ain't lying. Because if I say that's crazy, I probably ain't hear nothing you just said.
You just exposed yourself. Did y'all hear that?
See, if I be like, yo, that's crazy, I probably ain't catch none of that.
A lick. You did not hear a lick of what we were saying.
Nothing. Repeat the whole thing. That's when my context clues got to come into play, because then now I'm listening to try to catch up and see what the heck you was talking about.
I'm not playing with you, Joni. I can't breathe. How many people have got it? That's crazy from Miss Joni? Because I know I have.
Hey, yo, chill.
You're not listening. You're not listening, but it's okay.
Yo, chill. Hey, yo, chill.
This is too good because I'm thinking of times where I know you said that's crazy to me, but it's okay. This is a prime example. Do the things you need to calm yourself down. 9 times out of 50% of the people, one, aren't listening that close. It's just fact. So that's okay. So don't get all nervous about, are they going to check you? Are they going to know that I don't really know everything? It's okay. They're not going to catch on. Number 2, you have to remember that you know what you're talking about. If you're standing up to presenting to someone, be confident. Like, I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know, I'm going to be honest and vulnerable. That's another thing that gets us in trouble, trying to speak on things that we really don't know. You try to go hard and then you try to project and make other people feel stupid. If someone's like really questioning you in a rude way where you feel like you feel attacked, it's probably because they feel intimidated. So just don't take that to heart. Just remember your communication, be calm in your delivery. Try to it's very disarming when you stay calm and neutral. Don't get right back up there with them because that distracts the conversation and now you're feeding into all their foolishness. So just be confident, calm. If they ask you a question, it's okay to be like, okay, that's a good question, but can you just explain a little bit more what you mean by that so I can answer your question appropriately? Trust me, everyone is trying to figure it out and work it out. Don't be afraid to do the things you need to do to slow down, communicate effectively, and and be a boss.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And Cam said sometimes when she talks slow, people think that you're getting smart with them. And Coach Johnson said sometimes he feels that when he talks too much, he begin to stutter and look dumb.
Yeah, because it's like you're trying to catch up and you're so really just slow down because it kind of is
Yeah.
like what you don't want to happen ends up happening anyway because you're trying to, so just be you, breathe, speak
Yeah.
positively over yourself, know your message. It's okay to have a paper with some bullet points if you need to practice and then say what you got to say. They're not listening.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Cam, when once people know your personality, they want to know that you're not getting smart with them. Like they want to know and get used to just like who you are, what your speaking style is, and what your personality is in terms of being a public speaker. And same for you, Coach Johnson. I studied for a long time. Studied for a long time. I avoided having to talk for a lot of my childhood just because I was so embarrassed and lost my confidence when it came to like stuttering and stuff like that. So no, I feel like once you really grow into your confidence and grow into yourself, you'll find that that's going to be less of an issue. And even if you do still stutter, because I still stutter sometimes too, it's less noticeable, but I still stutter sometimes too, but you can't let that stop you.
Yeah,
Definitely can't.
you're trying. And I notice, yeah, when I stutter when I get nervous and I feel like,
Mhm.
so really trying to lean into that confidence and knowing that you are the expert in what you have to say. And so be confident of that. And these people are gonna hear what you have to say.
Yeah, exactly. Thinking
Stutter.
that people always think I'm being smart. All right, thinking that's because you do be getting smart, low key. You know,
Check your tone and your facial expressions and like,
Thinker definitely got that attitude, yo. Definitely got that attitude. But you know what? I don't even want to label you that because they label a lot of black women with attitude, aggressive, and all that. So I don't want to be one of them other people, but I see what they mean. I get it.
and see, you can still, because I still, there is some like, it's a rich when you talk, but like watch some speakers. That's what I'm saying. Watch some speak and just hone in, because a lot they'll try to put you in a box of like, this is, if you act like this, if you sound like this is what you're supposed. And I feel like we feed into that all the time. Well, this is just why this is cute, so I'm gonna just do this and do that and do all of the. No, you don't have to. You can hone. You can wait and breathe and yeah, and you don't have, if people catch,
Yeah,
that's okay. Let them catch an attitude, but you don't have to catch one back. Someone has to put their foot in the ground and stop the silly, the foolishness. We're not gonna,
exactly.
we're not gonna make each other feel stupid and look like this and act like that. And now you're talking fast and I'm talking fast, and no one knows what we're saying because we're all insecure that we don't know what we're saying, and no one is even listening.
Nobody even listening because that's crazy. No, and are you right? Your face, you don't smile a lot. If I didn't know you, like, to be like a good child and just like, like a caring person, I would think that you was mean. But you know what? People think the same thing about me, so I get it. But that's why when you are engaging in conversation, it's important to open up, to smile a little bit, to, let people know. And Stinker, you ain't gotta apologize for your attitude. I mean, that's just you, but you just got to understand how to make something like that work for you or modify it in a way to where as though you can get better results when it comes to effective communication, because you don't want that type of stuff holding you back professionally. Yo, our time is done, Miss Simone.
So sad. Thank you.
Yo, right? But that's crazy. I'm done with y'all.
Next
Miss
time,
Simone.
and we can do some people can get on, we could do some practice. I don't know, I love y'all, we're gonna make it work.
All
Okay.
right, we're gonna make it work. We'll see you tomorrow. 10 o'clock, Miss Simone. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all back at 11 with Mr. Dallas. Hey, hey, y'all. We are back. About to get my man, Mr. Dallas Bell, on here. Y'all don't even understand how much I love this dude. Dallas!
Tony, John, what's up?
What's going on? How you feeling?
I feel amazing. How are you?
Man, I'm great. I'm blessed. I am blessed. I can't tell you how excited I've been to have you come on, man.
Oh yeah, it's time.
All that,
Forward to this.
all that wisdom in that little head of yours.
You know it ain't a little head, but we're gonna overlook that.
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing amazing. We're gonna pass on some gems. We're gonna learn a little bit. We're gonna talk. I love doing it.
I know that's right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have a lot of young folks who aren't familiar with you. So I want to just kind of start with like the basics, like where you grew up, where you came from, how you came to be doing all the things that you're doing now. And y'all blow the comments up, blow the questions up. I promise I'm gonna ask every single question, but we're gonna start there with my man.
Yes, my name is Dallas Bell. I am from a small city in New York that doesn't a lot of people know about. It's called Rochester, New York, in upstate. I always tried to just find new ways to just innovate. You know, I always had that competitive edge and competitive advantage. I want to be the best at anything. You know what I mean? I fell in love with a few things growing up, but nothing came to me as naturally, as this here. And the music business kind of found me more so. And it was amazing, an amazing journey to get here. I didn't do it for any reason other than I just purely loved it and enjoyed it every single day. And I still love it. I'm still having fun to this day. You know what I mean? I've, sung, written, done songwriting for artists who won Grammys. I've recorded, mixed, and master artists that have done the same. I was able to scale a business all the way out in my mom's basement, into a 2,000 square foot commercial facility, which is amazing. Up to 12 employees now. It's amazing, and just being able to help, and I've recently just been on this venture where I'm just kind of using my voice to just speak a little bit more and help people, and just the response and the reaction has been great, so I feel like at this point in my career, I feel like the next step for me is just creating, more leaders. They always say that good leadership is working yourself out of a job. My job is to try to empower as many people to be in the music business for the right reason and carry the torch for the right reason. So that's the next step for me, and that's what I've been doing.
Man, I love it. I love it. And I remember back in the day when you were telling me that like you were going to do this.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't believe you, I believed you because you just had that strong work ethic. But can you talk about like what those days were like where you were grinding to make it happen, like before you got there, some of the sacrifices and some of the things that you went through? Because I think people underestimate that part of the journey.
Yeah, man, I have missed so many moments, chasing those moments to just get flashes of greatness that at the time weren't even that, but it was baked in everything I needed to be successful. You know what I mean? I miss birthdays. I miss son moments. I miss brother moments. I miss so much stuff. You know what I mean? I miss moments at my job, So,
yes, you did.
Right? So it was very tough, just for context purposes for people. I actually used to work for Johnny. And man, I used to tell her, coming in, I'm like, Johnny, I've been up since 4:00 in the morning, man, because I'm tired. I got you, but I'm trying to kick it in high gear. I've been grinding because I was up at 4, you know what I mean? And just working at 5 on music. And then 8:00, I'm getting ready to go. And then by the time I get off, depending on if it's an early day or a late day, I'm staying up until 11, 12 o'clock, and getting back up and doing it again. It was very daunting, you know what I mean? And I don't regret any of it because it built the character, and I've always been strong-willed. And I'll tell you guys something. I remember me and Joni were in a one-on-one session, and I was talking to her about, the gripes I had with the job that we were in, and what she said to me, she was just like, if this was Joni's, then we would do it this way. If it was Dallas's, then we did this. I said, Joni, you're giving me fuel, man. When I get out here, I'm going to own it. I promise. I said, you ain't got to doubt it. You ain't got to worry. I said, you give me fuel. And me and Joni both ended up, leaving that place in pursuit of entrepreneurship. And it's amazing. So those sacrifices oftentimes come with much pain and lessons, but it's amazing to kind of get to that point where the payoff is here, and now you just got to keep paying dues and giving back. So this is why we're here.
Oh, that's right. Man, I didn't even want you, yo.
I
You
know.
remember that? You remember that? I didn't even want, I had already hired the person who I wanted. And they always used to tell us, don't make the offer until HR submit all the paperwork and everything. But I was like, look, I already told the girl, like, this is the person that I want. And then here you come.
Right. Right. I remember my old boss, man, at that time when we were transitioning to all get replaced at that job, he was telling us, based on our sales, he's like, Dallas, man, I'll tell you, man, you're going to be about a third to fourth round pick, man. So just sit tight. You know what I mean? And when you get it, I said, sir, when I get up in this new place, I'm gonna rock this thing. When I met you, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't expect to get. I said, Johnny, who's your best person in here? I'm gonna beat them. I don't care how long they've been here. I'm gonna beat them. Okay. And sure enough, we did exactly that. Right. So.
No lie. No lie. So, how did you know that you had made it? Like, what was that moment for you to be like, yo, all my hard work has paid off. I'm finally really doing this thing.
I think when my idols started asking me for advice, that's when I was kind of like, oh shoot, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I was like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? When it came to the point where, I would say when it came to the point where like, I didn't have to have a job anymore. That was like, wait a minute, I can solely depend on, what I'm doing here. And I think a lot of times it's just measured by the impact, you know what I mean? And I would see people just speak so highly of the stuff I was doing, but a lot of the stuff I was doing was just instinctive, you know what I mean? It wasn't a book I read or any of that type of stuff in the beginning. And then and after the fact, I kind of, matched that part to the context. And I was like, oh man, I was just instinctively doing this, So I think figuring out like, man, I'm really here is just tapping in with people that I had looked up to and they were just like unreachable. And then they were just calling me like, man, can you have any time for me, Dallas? I'm just like, yeah, I used to watch you on television. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to be able to do that.
Wow. And one of my favorite stories is the story of the guy where he had came to you to do like to work on a song or something like that. And you was like, no, I don't want to work on a guy. And then the next thing you know, he was on the radio. Can you tell them that? And I'm saying the guy because I really don't know his name. I don't know these people.
Yeah, I definitely tell you that was a whiff moment, So there's a kid and he came to me and he was working at Papa John's and, he really wanted to just do music with me. And I was just like, kid, you don't have any money, man. You know what I mean? So like, you not having money, that's going to be a little problematic for me. So do you have a budget? He's like, I'm trying my best to, do what I can. And I'm like, okay, well, look, I'll give you a song and I'll just have you just sing it, and if it goes well, we'll talk from there. Right. And he sends it to me, and in the first 5 seconds of the song, I hate it. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll get up with you, brother. You know what I mean? And I didn't hear from that kid for about 2-3 years, and then I get on. I'm listening to the radio. This guy, he drops a song called "Don't," right? And that guy's name is Bryson Tiller, right? And this guy goes on to drop an album called Trap Soul, which goes quadruple platinum and all this other stuff. Which taught me a valuable lesson. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who somebody's gonna be. You know what I mean? So. That in the business is so important. You got to know that.
Wow. And you are fairly young in terms of like the success that you have and what you've been able to do. Like, what do you say to people who are teenagers? Well, first of all, were you a teenager when you started this, or were you like in your early 20s?
Oh no, I started making music when I was 15, and really got serious. Like 19-ish. But yeah, it was the teenage years that I really just kind of decided, I feel like one of the greatest obstacles that I kind of had to face pre-music was like, I feel like young people, specifically like young men, they are made, by their first great loss. You know what I mean? And that may be a heartbreak. That may be not making a basketball team. That may be something that really gets to them. You know what I mean? And for me, I just didn't cope with failure very well. You know what I mean? Because I am committed to winning. Like, I am a winner. Everything in my spirit and my spine is, I got to win. I got to be the guy, you know? And, football was that for me. I kind of learned no matter what. My work ethic was ridiculous, but I would see people who were just instinctively just great, who just had all the athletic prowess, but I'm outside busting my behind every day, day in, day out, and it just didn't work for me. You know what I mean? But music, it just came so naturally, So once I found my niche, it was just like, oh yeah, it's time to go. It just so happened that it was in like a cool industry, but if it was life insurance, we'd been moving life insurance with the same jittery energy, you know what I mean? It's just love,
Yeah, that's one thing I love about you, yo. It don't matter what it is, you gonna make it happen. Even when you left me. Remember when you left me to go to the door?
And do you remember on the way out, I told you exactly what I was going to do. I said, Tony, they only get me for 1 year. I'm getting them out of there, and then I'm going to get me. And if you remember, I remember one time, I'm like, man, I'm looking at these sales. I'm like, Tony, how many sales you think I got to do so I can buy a Lamborghini? So I'm always just thinking about the next thing that I want, because there's nothing that I can't acquire, because my mind is limitless, man. So I just go to work on it every day. And that was a big light bulb moment, meeting you and working with you. And I'm just like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I come here and then I get paid for my performance on top of just being here on an hour? Okay, yep, that's it. You don't got to tell me that now. You're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to change my life. So that situation really changed things for me.
Man, it was amazing to watch you grow. So like, what do you say to those young people who are like 15 and 16? Because I have some of those who are on listening to you right now, and they are absolutely loving your story. And like, my message to them, I mean, sometimes it may sound a little harsh, but I'm always telling them, like, look, you got to do it now, because ain't nobody going to want to hear you in like a couple of years when you get so old. So like, can you just talk to the point of, like youth as an asset in the music industry specifically?
I think that when you're at that age, you have a unique opportunity to get a really big lead on everybody who's going to be indecisive and make decisions late, about what they want to do, or, where they want to be in that business and that type of stuff. I think whenever you say anything like music business, at first people go, well, you got to get a job that's realistic. You got to do stuff like this. I feel like you have to have an uncompromising work ethic. And that was the thing for me. Like, well, I'm doing this. So if we're not doing this, then just know, like, we don't have to do anything together. But when you come back and check on me, I'm still going to be doing this, and I'm going to be doing it in a higher capacity that I was doing it before the last time you left and checked to see if I was still doing it. I think a lot of times young people just think that they have all the time in the world, right? So they can be a little wasteful. A really wise quote, I heard someone say is that, the youth is wasted on the young, right? And that quote, right? Yeah, your spirit niggas on that, right? And when you think about that essentially what that means is that so many times people, when you get old, all you want is more time. When you're young, all you think that you can get rid of and waste is time. So I would tell that young kid who's just on the cusp, who's hearing me, and I would tell them to make that decision today and be uncompromising with it. I'll be very point blank and period, man. I don't really sit there and, dwell over plan Bs. I'm not concerned with anybody's corona. I'm not concerned with any of that stuff, Even me now at this point in my career, the TV, if I listen to them, they'll tell me, oh man, it's the death of small business. This, that, and that. I can't relate. That doesn't apply to me. I had a mission, and I don't believe that any COVID-19, 20 or 21 is going to impact or interfere with what I got going. I'm uncompromising with my work ethic, So that's what that kid needs to do. That kid needs to say, you know what, I'm doing this, man. I'm making a decision. I think I would tell that person to not look at the music business like a spectator sport, I think what you're going to do is you're going to get in here and you're going to work, and just naturally, the gravitational pull of just you doing what you're supposed to be doing is going to put you in rooms with people that you just idolize. And I think the most important thing is to understand that when you get there, you're a peer, and you don't want to be in there just merely being a fan, because you got to go in there and respect the game enough to want to add to it, so do that now. And by the time you get to, a sizable age and some time in the game, you'll look back and there'll be some more kids trying to figure out how you did it.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And especially the idea, you said be a peer and not a fan. So they get in the room with Beyonce, Jay-Z, and them. They gotta just be cool.
Mm-hmm. My childhood friend was on Beyonce's album cover for Everything Is Love. And that was amazing. I was just like, oh my God. And she toured with Beyonce. She's a dancer. She was on a show called So You Think You Can Dance, you know. And she come from where I come from, Rochester, New York. Like we rally around our people. We like, wait, what? You did what? You know what I mean? Like our claim to fame was that we founded weddings. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, we get it. Okay, we got weddings, we got grocery store. You know what I mean? So it's a chip, man. And I love having that chip, you know. So I want people to just be as aggressive in that pursuit, you know, as they can be, because it's important stuff, man. You know, and the future is with you guys. You know what I mean? You got to make that decision, you know, to be able to get there. I was watching. I'll tell you a story, right? I remember when I'll tell you two stories real quick. I remember when I met the first time that I met Sway, right? And I was just so certain because it was in 2014. I met Sway, and we were just talking. He said something, and it rubbed me the wrong way because I was just like, you don't understand who you're talking to, right? So what he said to me was, we were just having a casual conversation, and it was important for me not to want to pull my phone out and take a picture, right? Because I felt like, well, I'm going to be here again. I don't have to take a picture because I know I'm going to be back. You don't know that, but I'm going to be back. And he tells to me, he says, hey, man, take your phone out, man. Document your moment. Right? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, wow. Yeah, man. I said, Sway, I'll be back and I'll come see you. A couple of years later after that, he called my phone to get some advice, you know, on some stuff. So that was really funny. He never even made the correlation between me being the kid he told to document that moment, you know. So
wow.
That was, you know, and the time I met Diddy, that was super, super dope. I remember just sitting in that room. I must have been about 6 yards away from Diddy, just listening to him talk, right? And the most important thing, the thing that I saw on him, it was probably a room of about 90 people, but I was like right there in the front, right? And I would say that the most distinct thing, you know, watching him growing up and just being like a humongous Biggie Smalls fan and all of that type of stuff. And the thing that I took to the most was that I saw his armpits and he was sweating, and I was like, oh my God, he's a human. I mean, I could beat him, right? So I said, as long as he's a human. I said, because in my life, these people were like superheroes or something. And he came out, he said, I just want y'all to know I'm so nervous right now. And I said, oh my God, he has human emotions. So at that moment, it taught me, like, even at the highest person, I know that these people deal with human emotions, and I have every right to be a human and still chase my dream. So don't you be scared. Understand that the people you watching may be nervous, and it's your responsibility to contribute to the game because that's important.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. And you have like a unique situation in the game. So like you do it all. Yeah. Artist, engineer, producer, writer. Can you talk to us about like your balance with that and what pulls your heart the most?
I think I read a book by this guy, Jim Collins. It's called Good to Great. And he talks about this idea about the hedgehog concept and being able to just kind of key in on what makes you distinctly you. And I noticed that what I love to do more than anything is impact people through my voice. So pretty much everything that I've done, you know, has been an extension of me using my voice to communicate with people. You know what I mean? Because that was just my means of connect. If you talk about balancing for me, I have so much fun, you know, doing all of it. You know, if I'm engineering, I'm finding ways to lead people. If I'm writing songs for people, you know, I'm connecting, you know, through there, and just having that artist come in and just, you know, take over a record is just amazing. You know, if I'm writing a record, you know, if I'm, you know, consulting or doing that type of stuff, I think finding balance with it, is more so in just kind of just flowing where the creativity lies, you know? So a lot of times I let that guide me, and to be completely honest, I let the bookings guide me as well. So what we're booked to do is what we show up.
That is crazy. So Ma, I know that he is definitely interested in being an artist. His question for you is, can you talk about some of the hardships of being a producer and a writer? And also, who were some of the other stars that you've met with or worked with?
I would say to hardships at the beginning. Are you talking about right now, or are you talking about at the beginning? Because I know this is more a youth-based class. I would say I'll give you both, right? In the beginning, it was hard to be able to juggle like people's expectations when I was in like high school, and my main focus was trying to really get that jumping, and people wanted me to be focused on like, you know, well, you need to be safe. You need to play safe. You need to go to college. This is not realistic. You know, balancing that type of stuff was a very difficult thing. I think some of the hardships of being a producer and a writer sometimes is when you're early in the game and you don't know the business, or you may not have a resume yet. And sometimes you may have to like give up some of the extent of your value you feel like to be able to get in bigger doors when you really don't. You know, you just have to be on God's time and just kind of play it that way, you know. But that was difficult, man. I lost a lot of money at times, chasing in pursuit. I can't tell you how many mega buses I caught in New York City, you know what I mean? To then catch the same mega bus to White Marsh so I could go to work that morning, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It was tough, you know, just kind of doing that, balancing a job, you know, balancing like this work-life balance, if you will. What is that when you're 20, 21? I don't really know, you know, because a lot of times you're still trying to figure that out. And many times we're new to the workforce, whether it be music or anything else, you know, still having these large grand visions for yourself, but still working inside the structure of like a 9 to 5, but you're in a business that's 5 to 9. So you're just trying to manage those moments, you know, could get really difficult, you know. On the writer side, I would say the difficulties in the beginning are like getting married to songs. You know, you love it so much that you only see it one way, and then you find out that the music business is so much more like product driven and numbers driven that like it's very hard to separate like, oh my God, I wrote this from my childhood experience and I'm giving it to somebody in this, that, and the third, or the points and that stuff can get difficult. Other huge superstars that I've met, man, I meet who I work with, man. You know, so I work with Big Bill. Work with. I just did some stuff with 2 Chainz that was dope. We worked with Chris Brown, Ty Dolla $ign, K Michelle, YFN Lucci, Lil Baby. Shoot, we on a corporate too, man. We getting in with the Ravens. So we do a lot of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I know I'm forgetting some people, but I've been very blessed, you know, just to be able to work with high level talent, you know. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. What is the most memorable moment that you've had? Good question.
The day that I got fired from my job and I made a video and I said I ain't never gonna work for anybody again.
Yo, what?
Yeah, man. The day I got fired, you know, I knew that I had to make a decision for myself. And I decided that I was gonna choose myself, you know, and I was gonna hire myself. And that moment was so great because I didn't know what the next step was. But anybody that knows me knows that if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it in major fashion. So the day I got fired, I booked a ticket to Miami, you know, and I I celebrated on South Beach, you know, because I said when I come back, my life will be forever changed, you know. And I was super happy about that. And we came home and we just worked, you know what I mean? And it was great. And by we, it was me, right? So now I'm at a point, I'm so team-based oriented that it's always we. But I promise you that by we, dude, I was having staff meetings in my head by myself. You know what I mean? Like, yup, Dallas. So the way we gonna do that, all right, we're gonna conclude this meeting with I got the plan right here. You know, so yeah, that was how it went. But the most memorable moment was when I chose myself, because let me tell y'all something about the music business. It's all revolving door business. You can work with something. If you look at the retention rate between who's on somebody's first album versus who's on somebody's 8th album, those numbers are going to switch in and out, in and out, in and out. I was able to be blessed enough at 24 years old to create something that they wasn't going to give me no out of, you know, and that was my most memorable moment.
Yeah, no, that's cool. You said I celebrated on a beach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So I did. I want y'all. I'll make sure y'all get my Instagram. The video is on my Instagram. Not the South Beach. I wouldn't do that to HeartSmiles. But I would say the video when I got fired from my job is on my Instagram. And
they dropping your Instagram right here in the comments too. It's the Dallas J. Bell.
It's Dallas John Bell. Dallas John Bell.
Dallas John Bell. Yeah, I tagged him this morning. And make sure y'all follow his studio. Can you drop your studio Instagram too?
Yes, Face Facts Recording. Face Facts Recording. Yep. I want y'all to go on there, man, and just check out the studio, man. It's amazing. You know, literally got this stuff out of a 10 by 10 little basement, man. You know, so it's dreams are possible. You know, you just got to manifest them.
Wow. How did you feel when people doubted you?
It was fuel. 100% fuel. You talked to the
Even
right
early on, like
Yes.
family.
Absolutely 100%. Let me tell you something about me. I am of Trinidadian descent. Okay, so half of my family is from Trinidad and Tobago. So you got to understand that like their ideologies on life is so much more bare minimum necessities based. It's not this whole tech world that we live in. It's not any of that stuff. Like they didn't have. I remember going to Trinidad multiple times as a kid. And they didn't have bathrooms in their house. Like you had to go in an outhouse and climb up steps. And like, so you have to understand, like they looked at like Americans and things like that are as very much spoon fed and pampered people. Right. So me being a American born and raised, right, but still coming from that rhetoric and that school of thought, it was very difficult to explain to my grandmother, like how I was chasing this thing that is like, she's like, oh, dollars, you need to go get a job so you can get the ching ching. You want to make music and do the ting ting. I don't want to get a job. I'm like, nah, listen, right? And it's not that they don't love you. They just don't see life through the lens that you do, right? So I didn't look at it as more of, people doubting me. I kind of just looked at it as here's the realities of the game and I got to prove myself, right? When I met you, you said, man, I didn't even want that guy. I didn't look at it as you were doubting me. You didn't have any reason to doubt me. You just didn't know me, right? So I had to prove myself. And I think anytime I have to prove myself in any arena, I just feel like I'm going to step up. And then not only that, I'm going to win in dominating fashion. And then I'm going to remind you about how you decided to not choose me. So I want you to do it in bold fashion. You know what I mean? You got to be bold.
Oh my gosh. All right. This inspires me so much. Can you tell us another story about something that happened with the recording artist who was in your studio?
Yes, I'm thinking about the right. I would say, no, my mother's not Jamaican. My mother's Trinidadian. That's a big difference. I would say another story. I got millions of stories. I would probably say, I remember the time Scola came to my house and we were working with Scola on this project, Only Hope 2. And he was at my house. And he must have brought about, oh my God, there was about 50 people. And he was bringing this guy. He brought this guy over. He started this record company called Rock Nation. Rock Nation, Jay-Z and them. And Cutiful and them came over and he brought Louis, his dog, his French bulldog. And this French bulldog was running up and down, jumping up and down on my couches and doing all of this stuff. And I was so devoted in my mind to being like, yo, I want to get a dog like Louis. I just want a French bulldog, right? So I ended up going to get a French bulldog for myself, and it was amazing. Purely because all of these people was in their house and they all had French bulldogs. I thought that was like a token of like, I'm doing okay. You know what I mean? But no, it was amazing. Just to kind of be in the atmosphere of a lot of people that I respected, I would say being in the studio with like Scooter before he passed, rest in peace to him, was just great, just to kind of just understand it. Me not being from Baltimore, I think sometimes I don't understand the impact of like certain things when I'm in the moments of those things. But when I talk to the kids, they're like, oh man, you work with Scola. I'm like, dude, I just told you I work with Meek. And they're like, Scola. I'm like, okay, that's what's up. Like, you really got that, you know what I mean? That's tough, So these guys are like my homies, man. And Scola's younger than me. He's 24. You know what I mean? So like it's cool just talking to him. I'm like, bro, what's up, man? You know what I mean? And all the stuff they're doing. But just nice stories, just being in the studio with that. Yeah, he brought Louis and the crowd. They all came together.
Oh gosh. So Stinker, she has a studio that she just started, right? And she's mainly doing like podcasts, radio shows, things like that. She wants to know what are the steps in getting it started and up and running.
Oh man,
She's
think
young. She's 16.
I know, right? So that's where I got to scale it back. And I'm like, now you can't, I would say the steps to getting it running. I would tell you to make a decision early on. What your intention is for the studio, right? Are you doing it for personal use? Are you doing it for commercial use? I remember when I turned 23, my mom sat me down when I had all this equipment in the basement, and she says, D, you got to make some money off this equipment, man. Like, you got all this equipment. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people who would like to use it, right? Because, you got to use your talents, man. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So that light bulb moment went off. I would just tell, that person who's like, what are the steps to getting it up and running? brand yourself first. You know what I mean? Go on Fiverr, get you $5, $10, get you a logo, right? It goes a long way, right? And just have this nice, memorable presence so that people can automatically respect you as a businessman, a businesswoman first, right? And then be able to just set the terms of how you're going about, you know, the way that you do business. You know what I mean? Build your equipment, you know, make sure you got your acoustics right. So when they're coming up in there, it don't sound all crazy. I want you to just make that commitment to yourself to just achieve the best level of sound that you can in the space that you're in. And then always just keep creating, you know, the innovator, the entrepreneur. Understand that right now you feel like you're just building a studio right now, but what you're doing is you're building a building block and on your legacy, man. You know, you have an opportunity to be a great entrepreneur. I want you to really seize that, 10x that idea. You know what I mean? You never know where you end up. You'll be somewhere and you'll be like, man, I have this amazing facility, and it all started with this equipment I just looked at. Don't look at it as merely equipment. Look at it as a vehicle for you to drive yourself to financial freedom, or a tool to help somebody. So that step is just take your equipment, you know, and brand yourself, you know, and use it and learn your skills all day, you know, because it'll pay major dividends in the long run.
Yeah, that's great advice. Dallas, how important is this idea of like networking, especially for young people? Because like a lot of times they shy away from meeting new people and connecting with new people. And even like with these sessions, we purposefully have different people like every single day with different experiences, different things to share for them to be able to connect and network. But so few really take advantage after the session is done. So like, just what's your take on that?
Your network is your net worth, man. You got to know that, you know. Ultimately, when you come into the game and you meet people, a lot of times you get the rubbing elbows a lot of times with stuff. But like I told y'all, it's a big revolving door. So you got to understand, man, you don't even know the power of your network that you're in right now. You know, you're likely, many people listening to this maybe in high school or something, right? You're making that step to go to college. You don't know who that person is going to be. You know, if you look at Facebook, right? Zuckerberg, man, that dude he made it in his college dorm room, you know, and he was making it with his friends. You know, there are just so many opportunities. Like I missed on, to a degree, I feel like I missed on that, you know, even in college with me, like when I was at the Art Institute of Washington, like that was an entire art school. And there were people in film, art, culinary, this, that, and that. Dude, if I had a chance to go back, I would have built an entire empire out of that school. You know what I mean? Because there's so much stuff. But I think a lot of times people just look at networking and just the art of communication. It's like this phobia, scary thing that they're uncomfortable doing. You got to break out of that shell, you know? So I would just kind of tell you to just, really look at it as an avenue just to kind of expand with somebody of a different background and just see how you can be useful. You got to go into networking to serve people. And I feel like a lot of times people are uncomfortable with networking because they don't have equivalent value to offer the other person. So they're uncomfortable because they're like, I can't give you anything, but you are the gateway. So they're not looking to network. They're looking for somebody to put them on. And that's uncomfortable because you're essentially asking for a handout, right? You need to get with people that you have an equally yoked relationship with. Can I get a, I'm joking. So, you know, you know what I mean? You need to have an equally yoked relationship and build something. You know what I mean? You want to have that seat at the table, just build it naturally, organically. It's going to come.
Mm-hmm. And how do you suggest that they approach people who are like above them, like levels up, like they don't really have anything to offer, but they still want to connect with this person?
Like you've been there before, right? You got to walk into the room like you've been there before, with your shoulders up, with your chin up, and you're rocking. You got to be able to speak to the stuff you're doing. They know that you're not at the 10x level that they're at, but they also know that you have one of the greatest assets made available to you that oftentimes these people don't have. You have the youth. And if these people are doing anything that they're supposed to be doing, they should be empowering you guys by empowering the youth and coming in and saying, you're going to take my seat when I'm gone. And that's my job. That's the law of leadership, right? The leader's greatest return, John Maxwell. You got to be able to put somebody in the seat that's going to be a great successor. They should be wanting to see you. I want to see all you guys take these seats when I'm getting up from them.
Yeah. That's
That's
powerful right there.
that's the goal, man. So just walk into it like, hey, I'm next. And look, here's the thing. I'm gonna respect the game and I know what you're doing. And I'm gonna keep adding value, but I'm studying, but I'm also looking at ways to not just be a carbon copy of you, to just contribute to what you've already done to this culture, because I have contributions to make that you may not have done yet. And this is why we have a parallel to network with.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. I heard you're a writer. What was your favorite song or rap that you wrote?
I wrote a song called "Let Me In" and I sold it to this guy. His name is Yodi, and it did 100 million streams, and he did it in Spanish. And I was like, oh dang, I never thought that I could make a song that somebody would want to take into another language. And then he's going on tour in front of like thousands upon thousands, probably 20, 30,000 people singing the song that I wrote in a language that I didn't even know. And I was like, wow, I think it's cool writing like just records in general and stuff like that, but it's just to see what you're doing like transcend into other cultures is like different, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty dope.
Man, Can I Change Your Mind need to be out there.
Yeah, right. That's a good one. Yeah, people are always like, yo, drop. I'll probably do that. That's just a passion project, but I feel real good about that. Joey, love that record right there.
Yeah, that's like my favorite one. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put y'all on. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, we're gonna let that one out. We're gonna let that go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what my heart is anymore, but I can definitely say I feel so great about that body of work that people just live with. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was just awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is a great question right here. How do you build a team as an artist?
Okay. I think that the most important step that you take to building a team in the beginning is knowing the most quintessential question in the beginning. You have to know, who do you value the most? The people that are getting on the bus or where the bus is going, right? And I think a lot of times, instinctively, young people, old people, people that are not in business or any of that type of stuff, they always want to covet where the bus is going. And that's not the right answer. You need to get the right people, because you'll never go in the wrong direction with the right people, right? And I think ultimately you have to be able to put yourself in a position to understand that people have to be attached to your vision. You're not gonna win by just going and getting highly credible people, right? That are good at their own arena if you cannot get them to buy into a why, right? So I think that you build a team with people who have a neutral why, right? And when you get to that point, and you don't want to go hire or bring in a whole bunch of people that want to be Michael Jordan at what you want to be. Michael Jordan is great because when you needed a closer, you pass him the ball and everybody got out the way. But the problem is, everybody wants to be the superstar at the same position as you. Go bring in people around you that, don't aspire to do the exact same thing that you're doing, but the way you guys use y'all's energies are complementary. I think that's the first step. I think understanding this thing called organizational structure, right? So I'll break it down. If you look at it like football, my football fans on this call may know, okay, I know where the quarterback is lined up. I know where the tight end is lined up. I know where the wide receiver is lined up, but you would not put your quarterback at left tackle position. Just because you may lose a lot of good people trying to build this team if you put them in a bad position and they can't be successful with it, right? You got to use people to their strengths. You got to accentuate their strengths and you got to delegate their weaknesses. Most important, right? I think networking, getting on Instagram, getting on Twitter, going to events, those type of things, shaking hands, talking to people, I want you to wake up every day and decide what you're going to give versus what you're going to get, and you'll be more successful. You know what I mean? And I think, the world will kind of move out the way and just align itself for
you. Yeah, no, that's amazing. That is awesome, especially in light of our conversation we had yesterday with Miss Paula Campbell, who was an artist, and she talked about how having the wrong people around her like didn't help, especially when she got that major deal. So that's key.
Tough.
How can we be an artist and a social media influence? Because I just looked on your Instagrams and it seems like you do both.
Well, I love making a living being myself, and I think that I don't know anything about those words that people say. I don't know I have friends that have tons and tons of followers, blue checks, all that type of stuff, and I think it's a very exhausting job that they have, trying to cut it on and cut it off. I promise you that I'm being my truest self right now. I'm just using my voice with the family. That's literally the only difference, right? So, but yeah, I could honestly say, it's how can you be an artist and a social media influencer? I think ultimately you have to understand that at the base of this new age social media, we're all artists, right? Because we have to create content and we have to be artistic in our approach, because our job is to be able to captivate and capture people's attention, right? And that's art in and of itself, right? Because in this world where viral content is just flying off the realm, as soon as you open up an app like a TikTok, it's rolling, or that type of stuff. You have to figure out how to be captivating. I think it just starts with being transparent. Be yourself. I think you'll have a hard time trying to impersonate somebody that you're not. I don't even attempt to play that game. I am so unapologetically myself, and I'm working on it. So I would say, and when it gravitates to people, I'm just grateful that it does. You know what I mean? And you got to start that way, and just understand that there's art in a lot of things, and just seeing that in as multiple different ways, and don't try to make art what you want it to be. Just let it flow and grow naturally. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. Stinker said, do you get a lot of credit for what you do? I think that's an interesting question right there.
Turn between the person who's asking about credit, like on a legality standpoint from music, or like credit, like people saying things. I think that, do I get a lot of credit? I get people that speak extremely highly of me, and it's awesome. I love it, but I'm also learning at this point that like leaders pass the credit and take the blame, right? So I am so much more interested in passing the credit off to the people who are great, because while we're talking about me, highlighting me, I'm like, man, y'all on the phone with my OG, like that's dope. You know what I mean? Like you gotta understand, like who y'all got right here. This is awesome. So I feel like, I definitely feel like I've got, my just due, and a lot of people have said, really good things. And I make sure that in reference to business, I get that credit on paper. That's important in this business. So we do that stuff, but I'm very proud with the impact that we've made. I just created a testimonials on my highlights of my Instagram, where people were saying a lot of stuff about, the consulting stuff I was doing. And a lot of people are just taking it back, and they're just wowed and amazed. And that means so much more to me than money. In the beginning, I was just like, yeah, that's great and everything, but if you can give me some money, I would greatly like this, because I'm hungry. You know what I mean? And now that I don't really have to do this out of this starvation place, I can appreciate the beautiful things about it. And that's what drives me.
Yeah, that's powerful. Ahmad definitely said you should write a book. Yeah, I agree, Mo. He definitely needs to write a book. He has an inspiring story. And he said, do you still live in New York, or are you observing different places? And can you talk about some of the trips that you've made around the world?
Okay, so do I still live in New York? No way. I live in Owings Mills, Maryland. And I am likely on my last leg with Baltimore. I'm torn right now. I'm deciding whether I'm going to move to DC or Houston. So as the wind blows, I'll decide. I don't really know yet. It just depends on my business is at the point where I've built an exit strategy to where I don't necessarily have to be at my job for my job to make money. Thank God, right? My staff does great. So now it's about that next step. Yeah, great trips, great places. Man, I've been everywhere. Oh, man, I've been everywhere. New York, Florida, California, Nevada, Georgia, Santo Domingo, Trinidad, Jamaica. A lot of places. I don't know. I've been everywhere. Texas. You know what I mean? Like, I've traveled, man. Like, what? We ain't do nothing. We traveled, whether we got there by plane, by bus, whatever, it was great.
You been on any TV shows?
No, man. You know me. I don't do the public speaking. I'm just getting comfortable with it.
I didn't think so. I was just asking the question because he asked, but I'm like, no, I don't think you've been on any TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about some opportunities that were offered to you? Amazing opportunities.
I had an opportunity on the 14th of April, 2020, to be on a call with HeartSmiles Success Sessions.
There you go.
And I tell you, that's amazing. I'm so alive in the present, man, and I don't discount that stuff. No, but in all seriousness, though, I think opportunities, essentially the ones that I'm looking for now, are the ones I create for myself. You know what I mean? I just look at everything as an opportunity. I have an opportunity to touch somebody on this telephone or this phone that's going to be able to inspire them to want to go make this huge change, that's inspired, to want to go add discipline, not motivation. Go get you some discipline, right? And I think that's awesome. I think people always look at, the stuff like, oh my God, you have the opportunity to work with this person and that person and this person. You know what I mean? I get so much more up and excited about the times that I can help people that can't do anything for me in return. You know what I mean? Because that's where humility is found. And I think, yeah, that stuff really get me dope. I like talking more so about how we fed 200 homeless people. You know what I mean? Or, that type of stuff, or how we're doing these programs with the kids where they'll come in on Sundays and, we'll help them do music and chase their goals. You know what I mean? That's an opportunity. I don't take any of those things for granted. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times, again, opportunities are created. You're not going to find them. You're not going to, tap into your GPS on MapQuest opportunity, and it's just going to take you right there. You gotta go get it. You got to be abreast to everything that's going on, and you got to be, aggressive about wanting to get to that next place.
Yeah, I know that's right. Now, I've seen you in situations where like emotions was high, and you could have acted off of emotions.
Yeah.
And it could have potentially changed your life forever. Can you just talk about this idea of controlling your emotions, being in control, and how were you able to do that so well? Because somebody threatened to kick your teeth out.
Yeah.
And you was calm as a cucumber.
Well,
Like,
I'll tell you this. My background in mixed martial arts really helped with that. Because it's about discipline. I remember sometimes I would leave and I would go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. And I remember like, you going to that karate class? And the disciplines that I've learned, I had a really good mentor there, his name was John Del Bruce. I'll never forget him, and he just talked to me about just having complete ownership over my mind, and to just never be, moved, and to be like water and be still, because you got to move with the flow of things. And I think a lot of times when you think about those opportunities and you keep those things, in perspective, and you compare it to the moment that you're in, a lot of times those things pale in comparison to what you're really going to lose by just, having a human moment where you're lacking judgment. You got to always play for your future self. You got to think about, am I making the decision that 10-year future version of myself will be proud of? You know what I mean? And then work backwards into the step that you're in now. I already see myself at 45 and I'm working back into the seat I am at 27. Because I know what I want to do. This is not, by chance. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I'm here. It's about proving it to you guys. That's the thing. In my head, I already know what I've done. It's manifestation, So there's no way that I can have anybody have that much control over such a human-like thing, like an emotion that could compromise everything that I built, prayed on, and promised to people that believe in me.
yeah, that's powerful. And I wish I could get that message to so many more young people because they need that. I've seen so many young people change their life in an instant just off of an emotion. And it's like, wow.
One thing I say, and just a quote that I heard people say, to just be able to really own in on is, I think a lot of times people just get into this dialogue with people and they get so emotionally invested, right? Because it's just so easy. It's just so easy to kind of get invested in who playing with me. I ain't this type of person. I come from over here. Everybody wants you to know where they come from. You know what I mean? And I think, but everybody loves hearing the sound of their own voice, or people talking highly of them. And what I always say to people is, if you live for the criticism, you'll die. If you live for the praise, you'll die by the criticism. You know what I mean? So I just think thinking things in context. It's nobody's natural born right, or they're not obligated to love you. Right. So just understand that when you climb up and you ascend, right, you're probably doing something right when people start to dislike you a little bit for what you're doing naturally, because, people be hating. It's just the name of the game. It comes with the territory. Right. So just be yourself, man. And just know that, you're gonna upset a lot of people in pursuit. And when you're being yourself, there's a lot of people that wish they could have, the bravery that you had. There's a lot of people that wish they had the charisma that you had. A lot of people that had the faith in themselves, but they didn't have it themselves, so they want to attack you for it. They want to dim your light because they can't cut theirs on. Don't listen to those people. I definitely did. I promise. You know what I mean? So that's the way I go about it every day.
Exactly. Like, and I've been a witness to you just walking away.
Yeah, man.
Like, no threat to your manhood, no threat to who you are. You just straight walked away.
Absolutely.
I love it. And this kind of leads into what you were touching on. Cam said, where do you see yourself in 10 years? You kind of touched on it a teeny tiny bit.
Well, in 10 years, I'll be June, and I'll be 28 in June. So we'll just call it 10 years. I'll be 38. Hopefully I'm somebody's father, somebody's husband, right? I'm absolutely going to own a home, right? And scale some businesses. I'm going to impact hundreds of children, thousands if I can, and just continue in this pursuit, to just help people take full ownership over themselves. Because that's the goal that I've been on, and, that's what I'm doing. And, if you guys check out my Instagram and stuff, you'll see a lot of the webinars I do myself, to just help people just make those steps so they can just take full control over it. Because I know what it's like, being a young kid, just feeling like my voice was silenced, because I didn't come with a degree or something written on paper that said that I had the right to speak at this time, and I just want to empower these people to know, no, you're not crazy. No, you're not oppositionally defiant. Maybe a little bit. It's cool. And then you're like, man, no, you're not like, any of these things, man. You're just being yourself, and you see a vision. And, a lot of times the most artistic people, they call them crazy, and I want to just have a community for these people to just continue to just grow and manifest their visions, and know that it's okay, to just be talking to yourself and you're the only person in the room because you're manifesting your goal. And for sure you ain't gonna have no arguments with yourself when you're trying to manifest that dream. It's okay to, get up and decide that you want to own it. It's okay to say you want to just own your time and your mind. It's okay to be healthy. It's okay to not want to move with the status quo. It's okay to want to speak properly. It's okay to do all of these things, so just preaching happiness, love, health, wealth, and wisdom, man. That's what we're doing.
I know that's right. And my bad, Mars said he meant concerts when he said shows. Were you involved in any concerts?
Yeah. I've been very blessed, man. I don't know if you heard of South by Southwest, but that's a humongous music festival in Austin, Texas. I did that. On the music side, I performed at the legendary SOBs in New York City. So people like Kanye West, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, all these people I've actually performed on a car with Schoolboy Q and Kendrick Lamar. So I've been very blessed, just to be able to just work alongside or with or underneath a lot of great people. I've performed in multiple states, to just be able to do that. I've helped people get shows in multiple states. So it's just awesome to be able to do that.
That's amazing. And any connections with directors or acting associations? This is all over the place.
Film isn't really I ain't really too tapped in on the film side. If it's music, I know somebody for certain. Film, I got to make a call, but it's never one I can't make,
And what are you doing during this coronavirus? Are you still writing? Are you looking at some new artists? Or are you creating more opportunities for yourself or for you?
Creating opportunities for other people is my number one job. So what I've been doing lately is I've been holding Zoom webinar classes for upcoming artists and entrepreneurs, helping them 10x and grow their businesses. I've been reading aggressively. I've been working out to the point where it's getting ridiculous. I got a whole home gym in the house. I hurt my foot because I just live hard, man. I don't have no off switch, So a lot of it is just, I've been just grinding, just sharpening the tools, trying to figure out how to just continue to, just get better and just talking to my team on Zoom so we can all stay connected and just owning in the leadership part. But a lot of it, I'm having a whole bunch of fun doing webinars just like these, talking to a whole bunch of up and coming artists, a whole bunch of small business entrepreneurs, and just helping them get the tools to win. Because I have a whole curriculum on both sides that just, we go up. So that's what I've been doing.
I know that's right. And how do you decide to manage your money between your craft and your lifestyle?
I think that without going on a big business rant, I use assets to pay for liabilities, right? So at this point, I don't steal from the dream to pay for the nice things I like. And I like bougie things. I have people come clean my house. I have people come cook for me. I have people do all of that stuff, right? But it's all birthed and created in revenue that I've created from the business. But I think well before I was at that point, I was holding on to every dollar. Dude, I wasn't trying to maintain or upkeep a certain type of lifestyle. I was just trying to keep the doors open. I was just trying to keep the dream alive. You know what I mean? And managing your money, is important. I really fell in love with financial literacy. I want everybody that's listening to me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a great book, Rob Kawasaki, to just be able to understand money management. Because that's going to be a huge part of you getting to your dream, because you can't really oftentimes go to the bank and say, hey man, just give me $30,000 so I can just get my dream up off the ground. They're not coming to do it. You got to understand your relationship with money and how you view it. And one of the great lessons I learned about money is money is a jealous lover, man. You got to pay attention to it or it will leave you. Money is attached to energy and value. And when you have energy and value, it flows to you. Not producing that, it's going to leave you extremely quickly, right? So I think you should look at the lifestyle as a byproduct of that stuff and not the chief aim. I don't desire just to live a certain kind of way. I aspire to give a certain kind of value. And I feel like the lifestyle is a result of what I've been doing. You know what I mean? So hopefully you make that correlation and you put the work first, your relationship with money first, right? So that you tame that. So you're not sitting here like, well, when I make some money, I'm going to go buy this nice luxury car, or I'm going to go buy a big house and then be like that person on the foreclosure market because you were trying to chase the dream of the lifestyle before you got into what's going to keep you here, which is the value.
Absolutely, man. I don't know if it get more powerful than that. Our time is up. Man,
that was a fun
one. I know this was too good, but you got to leave us with a jewel. You got to drop a jewel on us.
Yes, I'm going to drop you with the jewel that I talk to everybody about on both of my classes, and I'll tell you guys the golden rule. What's measured gets managed. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. And what I want you guys to do beyond just business or music, I want you to measure your habits. I want you to look at your diet. I want you to look at what you're consuming. What are you reading? What are you thinking about? Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Right? And then I want you to manage those thoughts. I want you to manage those emotions. And I want you to commit to that 10x version of yourself when you're sitting at there 30, 40 years old, because it's going to come quicker than you think. And you have a responsibility when you get to that point and when you get to that mountaintop to turn back around and reach there and chart the course. Okay, don't be that person that gets all the way up to the top of the mountain, and just starts shouting, I did it. You better chart the course for the person coming behind you because it's bigger than you. And I want you guys to just always just put yourself second. Leaders eat last, man. And I want you guys to just take that role, right? And just decide that you're going to do it for something bigger than yourselves, because that's what's really going to make the difference at the end of the day.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dallas. Thank you. Man, I love you too much, and I appreciate you so much. This was amazing. The time went too fast. They on here like part two.
Awesome. I love it, man. Anytime. You ain't got your number, call my phone. So
I know that's right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
You and I will be in touch. You already know.
You know that. You know how we play. Follow me, Dallas John Bell on Instagram. I love to talk and connect with all you guys.
Yeah. All right. See you, Dallas.
All right. Now have a good one.
Okay. Yo, what an amazing conversation with my good friend, Mr. Dallas Bell. Now y'all see why I love him so much? All right. We back in 3 minutes at 12 o'clock with y'all favorite Miss Mo. Yeah, definitely part 2, y'all. I'll see y'all back. Hey, y'all. We are here. We got Miss Mo. Man, great conversation with Mr. Dallas, right? There she go.
Good afternoon.
What's up, Miss Mo? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. We got Miss Tanira about to come on in a second.
Yeah, she about to come on. She gonna like be on for like a few minutes just on mute and the video off, and then she gonna come on. But she in the room right now. I mean, I know because we're gonna go through something first. And it's just a preference. I mean, she could be on right now if you wanted to, but I don't know if she's ready right at this second.
All right, well, you tell me when she ready.
I will. Is she here though?
Okay.
Is she in here?
Well, yeah, she in the waiting room right now.
Okay, good. That's good.
All right, so that's it. That's it. How you doing today?
Okay, Snicker talking about I'm late. I'm not late.
Hey, yo. Nobody is late. What are they talking about? Yo, I
don't
clicked
know.
it right at 12 o'clock.
Maybe it's the lag. I don't know, but I promise you, I clicked my link at 11:58. Okay, so well 11:59.
They crazy, y'all.
Wow, y'all just want me to be late. Y'all don't want me to be great. I see. It's fine. It's okay.
You know how they do.
Yep, and y'all already know my screen about to freeze about 2 minutes into this, so I might have to ask you to repeat something, but it's okay. How is your day? How were the sessions and stuff?
Amazing. Miss Simone had a really great session about effective communication. Really learned a lot about communication. And then Mr. Dallas, he just inspiring, just to be able to see somebody go from just having a dream to now living that dream. Definitely good stuff. And he talked a lot about my favorite subject, discipline too.
Oh my goodness. That's good. I'm glad
Discipline.
it was good.
Oh yeah, for sure. They agree we need a part two with him for sure.
I saw that when I had logged in, people were saying parts. Every time I log in, honestly, I feel like I see part two, like in the comments from the last session. So
Yeah, that's because we be having good people. So that's a good thing.
absolutely.
That lets me know that we bringing in quality people. And I think tomorrow is going to be interesting too. And I'm not even talking about the lieutenant governor. Like he's going to be cool, but I think y'all really going to enjoy Miss Ann because she's been all over the world. She's actually in Germany right now.
Yeah.
So
she's back in Germany.
She got stuck in Germany.
Oh,
Rona.
for the things. Okay.
Rona. She said she was supposed to be coming back. She went to the airport. The airport was basically closed down. So she had no choice. Yeah. So Rona got her stuck in Germany. So she's in Germany right now, but she's been all over. So she's basically going to be talking to us just like about her journey, some of the things that she's done. Like she's done projects in the Amazon jungles. She's done projects in Africa. Everywhere. Like she's like a traveler's dream, like to be able to travel, work, and get paid. She got all that kind of like in the same bag. So that conversation is going to be interesting. And then of course the conversation with the lieutenant governor, Maryland versus Rona.
Man, that is what it is. Yeah, he'll be during my session tomorrow, so y'all only get like 30 minutes of me, which may be good.
So you know what? So then maybe you can help me out then, potentially.
What is the proposition?
I'm thinking that we could probably have, if I could figure out how to do it, 2 young people on his session, and then they just ask some questions on behalf of the young people. Because since we only got him for a limited amount of time, we won't have him for the entire hour.
Yeah.
We want to ask him like the important questions that the young people really want to know. So can we talk about that later?
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
That.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
you doing
All right,
today?
y'all. We are basically talking about like sharing your gifts with the world, and like not blocking your blessings. So yeah, we're gonna do this share screen thing again, y'all, and we're gonna see what it does. So here we go.
Yeah. Like it when you put the max sauce on your presentations, on your little
Not with the max.
sessions.
Don't talk about this max sauce stuff on my nerves. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
You can see it. Great. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Did you let her into the room already, or she's just still in the
No, you want me to know that?
Oh no, I just want to make sure you saw her. That's all.
Oh yeah, no, no, I can see it. Just let me know when I go to hit.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so sharing your gifts with the world, right? So we're just gonna talk about kind of going back to that introvert kind of theme that's supposed to be my session, but like we go in and out, you know. But every now and then we're gonna come back to it just because that's true to who I am, and that's kind of the lens that I'm looking out of. Um, so like talking about being an introvert and how that can stop you if you let it. So here we go. Introverting and blocking blessings. Um, yeah, so let's kind of talk about the qualities of an introvert again, just to like make everybody familiar, and just see if you kind of like fit in this particular situation. It's just a few of them, few of the many qualities, but just a few to focus on today. So, we are generally good listeners just because we listen more than we speak. So if you have, something that you need to talk about, something that you need to rant about, something that you just need to kind of like spill out all your, well, some people receive emotions and some people may receive more practical stuff, but like you just need a place to kind of spill all your things, and we can be a good place for that. Normally hyper focused, so it takes some time to just, we take time to ourselves, we take time to just focus on what we really want and what we really need, and what we can do to help others as well. Observant, um we take in our environment and we see what's going on. We try to learn, people, try to learn objects, try to learn like just our general environment. And we tend to thrive alone. Um, doesn't mean we don't like to be around people, doesn't mean that we can't be around people, but we just enjoy our alone time. We recharge that way and we can also thrive that way. Okay, so qualities of an introvert that may block your blessings or may stop you from getting certain opportunities. um Being too quiet. If you're anything like me, you've heard like open up your mouth, participate more, what do you have to contribute? And those can definitely be like good probing questions, but they can also definitely just be like one of my pet peeves actually is like when I'm not speaking. And I can say this now because I'm no longer really a student like in school, but like when I'm not speaking and somebody says, Morgan, do you have something to say? Mm-mm, I don't. Not, and even if I do have something to say, I'm just not ready to say it. And that's just kind of like one of my things. I'm just like, I don't have anything to say, and if I did, I really don't want to say it now because you made it clear that I wasn't saying anything. So that can definitely just be a thing, but yeah, just make sure like in certain situations you're going to have to speak up. In certain situations you're going to have to make whatever you have inside of you known. One, just because you can share an idea that somebody else may not have even been thinking about or talking about. But also you have to do that so people won't overlook you, which is the second kind of thing. People may overlook you, being an introvert or just being, more on the quiet side or being more on the reserved side. They may just forget about you. And that's kind of like without sugarcoating it. Like people might just forget about you. People forgot about me all the time. And forget that I'm even in the room all the time. And somehow that's not happening as much now, but definitely just kind of growing up and definitely being younger, like people just won't remember you, and you want people to remember you. You want people to know that you are powerful. You want people to know that you have great ideas. You want people to know that you have a good soul ultimately. And so it's those two things kind of go hand in hand. Like if you're too quiet, people may overlook you, and then you miss your blessing, but you also miss the opportunity to bless somebody else. So just kind of be aware of those things. Another quality that may kind of block your blessing is your network may be small. I'm not saying be everyone's friend. I'm not saying make sure that you know are talking to everybody and you're best friends with everybody. That's not what I mean by your network may be small. I mean your network may be small in terms of opportunity, in terms of sharing your gifts and receiving other people's gifts. Especially like growing up and finding your passion, stepping into a career, stepping into a job, and just kind of stepping into some life things. You don't really want a small network. You want to be able to call somebody, if you need help with something or support with something. You want people to be able to do the same with you. You want people to be able to call you. You want to possess skills that people need. And you just want to, kind of expand your network just in case you kind of just need to rely on one another. Not too much one way and not too much the other way. And another quality that may kind of block your blessing is you may just have like a bad first impression. People don't receive, you might have a resting face, resting, however you want to characterize a face. So you definitely might have that kind of face. And a lot of times, like we're fine, right? We're fine. We may be happy. We may be just very comfortable in where we are, but it's just a face. Like it's just the face that we have. It's just the face that just is kind of there. So people don't receive that well, or they can't receive that well, especially if they don't know you. And then, if you're not speaking up, if you're not actively contributing to the conversation, then it can lead to all those other things that we talked about, which can lead to a bad first impression, which if you're in like a job kind of interview, people won't call you back. Um if you're in like a collaborative like effort, like you're working with other people to actively achieve one goal, people won't like turn to you, people won't actively seek your contributions. And that can just be kind of just not a good thing, depending on where you're at. So just be aware of these qualities. Be aware they can definitely stop you from leveling up. They can definitely stop you from being actively engaged in a situation. Um, and they can just actively stop you from just, kind of growing as an individual. Um, so yeah. Um, so you may be like, okay, because the title of this is kind of like sharing your gifts with the world. And how do you determine what your gifts are? And maybe you don't necessarily know. Some people right off to the back, like if you ask them, they'll be able to run off a list of the things, that are their gifts. Um, and some people it's a little bit harder. Me personally, it's harder for me to give you a list of my gifts. And it's harder for me to give you a list of my skills. Um, so these are kind of questions that you can go through and you can kind of be like, okay, how do I get to those gifts? So start at what you're good at. And I'm emphasizing starting at what you're good at because you may naturally just have a gift that just comes natural to you. And so you can you can build on this skill, you can use it to help somebody else, you can use it, temporarily, in a job or to get a job or to get an opportunity. But I'm saying to start here because not what you're good at might not necessarily align with what you're passionate about. Because like you may just possess some type of skill. So let's say that like I'm good at I'm good at writing papers. Okay. I'm good at writing paper. Actually, no, this is true. So I came with a real life example. Like I'm good at writing papers. I'm good with words generally. And so at least like writing them on the paper. But I don't like writing papers. I don't like writing things that are more than one page generally. But I know that I have to do those things, but I'm good at it in the sense that I can support others. I can, you know, do it for somebody that may need it, but I don't really like it. And I'm not really too patient when it comes to it. Um, so that's something I know that I'm good at. But then you move on to like, what are you passionate about? What do you like? What do you love? What brings you the most happiness? What brings you the most joy? Which can't you live without? And that might sound really, really dramatic, but like that's where true passion kind of lives. Like what can't you just like not see your life without? um and that would lead into like what is your purpose, and like some things that you can kind of do um is you can like just like be true to yourself, work hard, just recognize like your passion may not come naturally to you. So I talked about like what you're good at, those are the kind of things that kind of come naturally to you. They can definitely align with the things that you are passionate about, but they may not. And then so just recognize that if you are passionate about something, you may have to work hard in order to continue to build that passion, to continue to build on that passion. Um, Take personality quizzes, and I know that sounds like really silly, but some of those personality quizzes really do work, and some of those personality quizzes can like really lead you into a space where you're like, okay, yeah, like I'm really it allows you to see like the things that you like and the things that you're good at. Like some of those personality quizzes are made just for that. So those can be definitely helpful. Um so yeah, and you can also kind of ask the people around you, people that you trust. Maybe your family members may not be, maybe just like your good friends. Ask them to describe you in a sentence or less. Um, you kind of want to keep it to like one word or three words. But ask them to describe you in a sentence or less, and just make sure that those are trusted individuals, because that can also kind of kickstart you and help you to be like, okay, these are the qualities that other people see in me, and let's make sure that those align with what I want to be. Because sometimes with what you want to be and what you're giving off do not match. And in that case, you want to make sure that they match. So yeah. So what can I do to make sure that I'm not blocking my blessings? Um, Maintain effective and targeted communication. So y'all talked about that with Miss Simone this morning. Definitely take all those qualities, definitely take all those tips that she told you, and use them, you know, to your benefit, and use them to make sure that you're effectively and openly communicating what you think about certain situations. Um, Announce your presence. Um, that doesn't mean walk in the room like, oh, I'm here being all loud. You got all this just loudness coming out of your body and out of your mouth. That does not mean that. It just means like just make people know that you're there. Engage in conversation. Like Miss Joni's actually really good at this. Like she gives platforms to where if she asks a question or she wants feedback about something, she recognizes that people will ultimately, you know, raise their hands and people will call out and people will, you know, just be okay sharing their opinions. But she also recognizes people are not as comfortable with those situations. So she might ask you to text her or DM her or text somebody or DM somebody, to make sure, or take a poll or something to make sure that your opinions are still heard, but that you're comfortable in a way that's what you're sharing in a way that's comfortable for you. Um, And so, but you have to recognize everybody doesn't do that. So you kind of have to find ways to do it yourself, right? So a way you can do it is ask questions. If you're not comfortable, asking questions in front of everybody else, you could always kind of contact, if you're engaged in a conversation and somebody's leaving that conversation, you could go up to them after the conversation and be like, I really enjoyed this, and this. Here are my thoughts about it. If you're not comfortable with that, you can email them, text them, or something afterwards and be like, I really enjoyed your session. I really enjoyed the topics. And then you can like say your thoughts about it through email. The best way, honestly, is to probably say all these things before people even leave the room. But if you're kind of working your way up to that, you can practice those things of like just kind of following up on a more like intimate basis. And yeah, and so the last kind of thing on here is find people that you are drawn to. So sometimes, like, just being in the room with at least one other person that you're comfortable talking to, that you're comfortable sharing your opinions with, or that you have common interests with, may make you more comfortable just in that environment in general, which would make you more inclined to share your thoughts and to make sure that you're gaining information and receiving information as you should. Um, and then, and you can let her in now, Miss Joni. But and then just be comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes. And that's kind of just for me, I feel like it's just been most of the time I have to do that. But yeah, like you just have to be comfortable in those spaces. Sometimes where you may otherwise be uncomfortable. So I know y'all just saw well, maybe y'all can't see her yet. I don't know. But this is they can't okay. Well, this is my cousin Tanira Prelo. She she played college. I mean, she played sports in college. She was a teacher and coach. And she's also was a performer at one point in her life. So she's just kind of gonna share different stories. She's gonna introduce herself better than I did. Um, and she's gonna share different stories about times where she just kind of had to make decisions because she also identifies as an introvert. And that's also like my best friend in the entire world. So it's interesting kind of going through life with her. And just seeing, different experiences and seeing some of the same experiences that we're having. So come on, Taneva, hit that introduction, shorty.
Hi, my name is Tanir Prelo. As Miss Mo just told you all, I am her cousin, sister, whatever, all of that good stuff.
My sister.
So I am definitely an introvert. I played sports in college. I played soccer, volleyball, and basketball at Wilson College. I played sports in high school. I played lacrosse, soccer, basketball, and I ran track at Milford Mill Academy. I danced at Milford Mill Academy. I teach dance currently at my church, which is Fountain Baptist. And I did teach fitness at Hilton Elementary School, and I did play therapy at Kennedy Krieger. I no longer do that. I now work in administration. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm just reading these comments because y'all always clowning me. It's fine. It's okay. Oh, Cam was just so it's like live comments to never, as I kind of mentioned, and Cam was just saying, I've had people that I felt drawn to, but I don't really be consistent. I don't like to interact with a person a lot because I don't want to seem pressed or put too much energy into them. Just real quick, Tanira, my screen froze, so I don't even know if y'all can hear me, but real quick, Tanira, before you get started, as far as interacting with people, like so you can show interest in somebody, you can show interest in a certain subject without seeming pressed. Because you don't have to be all up in their face. You just can come up, you can say, oh, like I like what you were talking about. I kind of, I like what you're about. Do you mind, having a separate conversation about some of your things? And that's kind of how you can reduce that kind of pressed nature from happening. So yeah. Oh, and Sneaker was saying hi to you, Tanera.
Oh, hi.
So Tanera, can you just kind of share a time where you expressed that you're going to talk about teaching and talk about performance? So I guess kind of start with your college experience and kind of how you had to come out of your your show at times where you felt that it was important.
Okay, so with college, it was hard because when I first got there, I did not talk. But I was on the soccer team and I played goalie, which is supposed to be the most verbal person on the field. I literally did not talk to anybody. I talked to one person. She was from Ghana. We became really close friends. We still are friends, but I had to learn to come out of my shell a lot in college. One, with playing sports and being able to interact with the alumni that were coming on campus, being able to interact with my president at my college because she apparently was very concerned at the fact that I did not talk. I went on a visit and everything. I met them. I never said anything on my visit. She would speak to me. I would just walk past her and hit her with the and keep it moving. And I realized that I needed to try to open up more when I had a soccer game and my parents came to watch and they brought my nieces. And the president of the school went to my mother and said, "Is she okay? I've never heard her talk. I don't know if she likes it here." She smiles and she keeps it moving. And I just want to know, like, does she like it? Like, does she want to stay or is everything okay? Because I never said anything. Like, she told my mother she just wanted to hear my voice at least once before she left. So I realized, like, maybe I need to speak to this person. I would never talk to my coach. Just, and I realized, like, I had to start opening my mouth and expressing myself or telling people how I was feeling or like telling people what I wanted, because I would just go with the flow because I didn't want to have anything to say. I wanted to keep to myself.
So you said, you kind of mentioned like your nieces. So would you say that your nieces kind of being there and being present allowed you to kind of be motivated to speak more and kind of put you in a place where you were kind of a role model for them?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, as you two know, with Demaya, like having a little girl that you're helping raise and having just people that's going to look up to you, I had to realize that if I keep quiet and I don't express myself or I'm not able to teach them what to say, if something does happen, they're going to internalize it because that's what they see. So I had to learn, like, it's definitely time to step up and open up so that you can show them maybe the things that they're gonna need. Because being quiet, it works for me in certain situations, but it may not work for them, especially with how society is today. They need to be able to speak up for themselves and let people know what they want and what they need. Because if you don't say anything, nobody's gonna know. Or if you keep to yourself, nobody's really gonna know how you're feeling.
Mhm. So talk about kind of being an athlete, and kind of touched on being like a mother figure and being like an aunt figure, but kind of talk about experience with teaching and kind of how being a teacher or a coach or a facilitator or something, and how you had to overcome certain things and qualities of being an introvert in order to do that successfully?
So, with being a teacher, you have to definitely be able to open up because you want the kids to see that you're enjoying what you're doing so that they can enjoy being in school and enjoy learning. I definitely felt that if I didn't open up with the kids and with the staff when I did need help from the staff, nobody would know. With especially with the school that I was working at, if I had a problem with a child, I couldn't handle everything by myself. So there were times where I needed to speak with the principal or speak with certain teachers or even speaking with parents, which probably was the hardest thing to me because like I'm not the type of person that's just gonna walk up to you and start talking to you. But when it's involving a child and it's somebody else's child, they've put their children in our hands for a majority of the day. So they have to be able to trust me and understand. They have to be able to understand that, this person is gonna communicate if something's wrong with my child, or I can go to this teacher if my child is having an issue in that class. And I wanted the kids to be able to come to me. And if I'm not talking or I'm just teaching you a lesson and sending you back to your homeroom class, they're not going to have a good experience. So they're not going to learn anything. And with coaching, that is where I open up the most, I would say. Yes, with coach, I'm the coach that's like, I won't say anything to anybody when I walk in the gym, but I'm gonna talk trash to the refs, especially if I feel like my girls are getting hurt. This season I coached the best player in one of the leagues that I coached at, and I had to defend her every game. I had to make sure like y'all are not about to hurt my baby. And if she did something or if anybody on my team did something, I was on the sidelines jumping around, yelling. Like I had to come out of my shell because I wanted my kids to see like my coach really enjoys coaching me. I talk to their parents all the time. And I've had parents say like, we've never had a coach care as much as you do. So I definitely had to, that was an adjustment because when I first started coaching, I was in high school when I first started coaching, and I would just go in, I would coach and I would leave. I wouldn't say anything to the kids, but then I would see them out in the community and they'd be like, oh, that's Coach T. And they would want to talk to me. And I would just be like, oh. And then I realized I'm having a very positive impact on these children that they want to talk to me. They want to come and work out in the gym with me. They want to come spend time with me. They want to call me for advice. I have kids that'll call and like, hey, do you have a workout for me? Or can I come train with you? I had kids coming in the gym an hour or 2 hours before practice, but I had to be able to open up to teach them the things that I knew. And I got a lot from that myself because I had that impact on children. Like I was helping them improve on skills that they did not have at the beginning of the season. So I think that even though I am an introvert, when it comes time to like teach kids stuff or just teach anybody things that they may not know that I may have knowledge of, it feels good to be able to open up and share my knowledge with others.
Thank you. Miss Joni, do you have anything that you kind of want to say or ask or interject?
Well, I got 2 questions, if that's okay. So my first question is, so have you ever felt like disconnected? Like I hear you talk a lot about, like you like weren't saying anything and, you would just kind of keep it to yourself and you didn't want to have anything to say. Like, was there ever any time where you were just like disconnected, where you truly just didn't have anything to say and you just kind of felt yourself being like in that pattern of that? And then in terms of being an athlete, how was it for you on the learning part of becoming an athlete, like with this like, attitude of not saying nothing and not really, expressing how you feel? Like, how were you able to learn and be so good to where so you could teach other people?
So I'm gonna answer your second question first. So learning sports, to me it was very easy because I didn't have much to say. I felt like I was a more coachable athlete because I was not the type of athlete that if my coach would say something, I wouldn't question it. I did have a few teammates that would question it and they were good also, but I felt like skills came to me easier because I didn't have that much to say. I was there to learn, I was there to do what I was told. So it was more so, you know, it came easier because I didn't have anything to say. I just wanted to learn. And then um also I did have my brother and my dad that taught me things. I watched my cousins play a lot, like just stuff like that. So communicating with a coach wasn't too hard for me. I would still be quiet, but I was listening. I observed everything. So I observed a lot and I just kind of soaked it all in. Um, for your first question, feeling disconnected, I would say playing basketball in college, I felt very disconnected from my teammates only because I didn't have a lot to say. When I did, I was a captain. So when I did lead, I led more by example. I wasn't the type that I wouldn't fuss at my teammates and all that. And I had teammates that they felt like I didn't care about the game because I didn't have much to say, but I just felt like, you know, I'm a lead by example. Like if we're sprinting in practice, I wanted to be the first person finishing my sprints. If my coach told me to do something, when I got to college, I did start talking back a little bit more, but it was only because I felt like some of the stuff that they were telling me wasn't right. So that disconnected me some to my teammates. Um, it Nobody should ever have to say this, but I had some terrible teammates. So I did not, a lot of times I didn't want to be bothered with them. And my senior year, my grandfather died. So I really disconnected myself my senior year. I didn't want to be bothered. And I felt like I had one teammate that I was really close with, and she was the only person that she understood. So she was there for me. But I had other teammates that they had never lost anybody close like that. So they didn't understand what I was going through. And because I wanted to stay to myself, it became a battle between me and my teammates. So it was always, well, you're doing wrong or you don't care because we come in the locker room and you don't have anything to say. You're the only senior in the team. And I just felt like I didn't want to be bothered with that because I was internalizing the fact that, my grandfather wasn't going to be able to come to any of my senior games, or he wasn't going to be at senior night. He wasn't going to be at graduation. So I dealt with that. And so I really went back into my shell my senior year because I did not feel connected to my team.
That's deep. That's deep. What do you say to young people who are introverts, not because they don't have anything to say, but because they don't have the confidence or they don't feel like they'll be like accepted? Like, what do you say to those type of young people?
I would say try to find that one person that you do trust to talk to and share your ideas with, because they may help you share them. You may say something to them and they may say like, hey, my friend had this idea, and it might start bringing in other people to come see you, come talk to you, or even write it down. It helps. Being an introvert, writing helps, because even though you may not have the confidence to say it out of your mouth, if you write it down and you keep it, later on you can go back to it, or you can have somebody read it. Or try speaking in smaller groups. I know that I cannot talk if it is a lot of people around. If it's a lot of people around, I shut all the way down. If it's a few of us or it's family, I'm okay. So really try to find that one comfort, like find your comfort zone. Don't just stay in your little box.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's it's funny, kind of like, I don't know, kind of hearing just this kind of talking about, because I kind of want to answer your question too, Miss Joni, if it's okay, as
Yeah,
far as
which
like
one?
the one about like, is there times where you just feel like you just not connected? And yeah, most definitely. And I feel like it's one of two reasons. And the first one is gonna sound a little bit like harsh, but sometimes I don't feel connected because I just don't care. Um, and it is not, and it's not like a shot at anybody in that, but depending on what the situation is, and if it's not like really that serious, like if we're harping on something that just doesn't get us anywhere, doesn't have any substance, doesn't have any like kind of like moral background. And I'm just talking about like kind of those silly conversations. I'm just gonna kind of remove myself. I'm gonna head out. And I'll see you later. Like that kind of thing. Like, yeah. So sometimes I just don't care. And then sometimes I feel disrespected or I feel attacked. And in that particular situation, I don't want to say anything to you for fear of what I may say. So it's just, yeah, those sound kind of harsh, but like those are the times, those are the extreme cases where I'm just like, I don't really feel connected. In this particular situation, you're not being warm, your intentions are not pure, and I kind of don't want to engage in this particular situation. Um, and so to answer that, yes, I do feel disconnected sometimes. And then it's interesting because introverts definitely can thrive socially, right? So Tanira kind of mentioned, she breezed over it, but she said like in family situations, and just because she is my family, and I feel like it's appropriate to talk about like us in front of our family, completely different people. Like still the same people morally, still the same people, like, same kind of values, same kind of whatever. But we are like, and I'll just speak for myself, but she could speak more on her how she acts too. But like definitely more silly. And I was kind of the last one because I am the youngest grandchild in our family. I was like that last one because I was like super introverted, super didn't know what to say, super just didn't share anything about my life. And this is with people that had my last name, people that had the same blood running through my veins. I wasn't saying nothing. But just kind of becoming older, like we're definitely sillier. We're definitely just kind of like talking all the time back and forth, sharing our ideas. And that just comes with being around each other our whole lives. So yeah, I know everybody may not have that particular, family kind of bond, but we definitely do. So
Yes, we definitely. I am a complete different person around my family. I will say around my family and my best friends. Like family, we're all in the room, everybody's yelling, playing, like not like fighting, yelling, but like talking over each other, laughing all the time, joking. When I'm with my friends, I'm playing around. And even in my friends, that is the first thing they say to people, like, yeah, she's probably not gonna say anything to you. So, but when it's just us, it's us. Like, I'm fine. I enjoy being around my family. I enjoy being with my closest friends. So we are like, that's like my comfort zone. I come all the way out of my shell,
yeah.
especially with Morgan.
See, I'm an introvert myself. So it's like, for me, it's kind of like the opposite. Like when I get around my family and my friends and stuff like that, I got people asking me what's wrong because I ain't talking. And it's like, yo, like I'm chilling. Like I'm good. Like don't keep asking me. And I think I haven't like confirmed this, study or nothing, but I think it's because I spend so much time outside of my true introvert self for work that is like when I finally do get a chance to just really chill and, kind of like not be on stage, I just really kind of want to be left alone to a certain extent. Like you could be right here, but We don't necessarily gotta be talking.
I learned a lot about like keeping stuff to myself too. Also, like it's fine. Like when I'm with my family, I would say everybody in my family is like extremely intelligent. So we know a lot of stuff. Like we just it's like you just know stuff. And part of me being an introvert, I sometimes internalize my knowledge. And that's one thing I really wanted to tell kids like, don't internalize your knowledge. If you know something, you can talk about what you know. And that was another thing that disconnected me in college. Like, I had teammates like, oh, you feel like you know everything, or you feel like you played every sport. Yes, I played every sport. My parents, if I said I wanted to do it, I was doing it. And then I'll know stuff and I'll sit in a room and people be talking and I'll know stuff about what they're talking about, but I won't say anything because I'm like, yeah, they're probably gonna be like, oh, you know it all and all this. And it's just like when I'm with my family, we can talk about stuff. Like I can talk about anything. If a subject comes up, we're all gonna put in our input. And I think that part of being an introvert comes from it may not necessarily be natural for you, but sometimes it does come from people shutting your ideas down and shutting your knowledge down.
So what about when people ask you? So like say like you in those same rooms where people were talking about a subject that you're knowledgeable about. Like if they shut up and say, Tanira, what do you think about it? Are you gonna open up then, or you still gonna be a little like
I think I still say pretty reserved only because it could be something that I know a lot about. I read stuff, like I read random stuff. So when people talk about stuff, a lot of the times I know more than I share. But I rather keep some of it to myself because it's just one, I don't really want to be on that pedestal to talk, to share with everybody. But also I just sometimes I just don't feel like hearing like, oh, you think you know it all, or oh, like we didn't ask you all that, but actually you did.
yeah. I think that's their problem. Like that's their insecurities coming out, especially if somebody asks you and then you start talking and then they try to say something small. But we were talking about that on Miss Simone session earlier. Coach Johnson was talking about how like sometimes like he feel like he just like talk too much, like he give too much information. We were talking about this exact same thing, and I was telling him like, especially for like introverted people, you gotta pause and ask them to give their input sometimes. But I guess for somebody like you, that ain't even gonna work because even if I pause and ask you for your input, you still gonna be holding back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So how would somebody really tap into your wealth of knowledge on a subject, like if they truly wanted to know like what you have? Because I think that's valuable.
I think definitely like just sitting one on one, and if you ask me, like if you ask specific questions, I'll probably answer them if I know that you really want to know stuff. But if I feel like you're putting me on the spot just to say like, oh, well, you feel like you know this and you know that, then I it's just hard. But if I feel like you actually really want to know information about something, I'll let you know. It's part of being a teacher. When kids want to know stuff, I'm going to help you because I have that knowledge.
Thank you. This is powerful stuff.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We have like, so we got like 7-ish minutes left, I guess. So if you want to, you can definitely kind of share another story where you kind of had to overcome it. If not, then I can share something. Okay.
You knew that was coming. You knew that was, the girl just sat up here and said.
Listen, sometimes you still gotta ask her, okay? I know this. I know. Listen, I know this one right here. I know this one right here. But yeah, no, I can just kind of quickly share a time where I was like just uncomfortable and where I kind of had to come out of that particular introvertedness. That's not a word, but it is today. So I kind of was in a position where I had to become president of an organization, right? I guess I didn't have to, but I took that particular responsibility on. And the reason that I did that is because everybody else on like the executive team was leaving. They had made a decision they were either moving on to like higher education, moving on to different kind of opportunities, or they were still going to be there, but they just chose not to continue on with that organization. So literally, when I tell you literally that next year, if I did not become president of that organization was going to die. This is an organization that I was passionate about, that worked with an after school program at an elementary school, that I really like was building bonds with some of those kids. And I was like, okay. But I did have that moment where I was just like, okay, I don't want to be president though. Like, I love this thing. I love this organization. I love everything that it's about, but I don't want to be president because, and that was some of the things, like kind of the insecurities. And that was also just being an introvert too. Cause I was like, I can't lead. I can't do, and it was a bunch of I can'ts, right? And then I'm learning that a bunch of I can'ts is just a waste of time, right? But in that particular time, I was just telling myself like, I can't. And so I came to the conclusion to be president of this particular organization because I did not want it to die. And like, I didn't know anything really about leading any type of like, because I had to have an executive team under me. And I'm like, don't know how to do that. I kind of had to figure that out. And I just kind of had to remember like, this particular situation is not about you, Morgan. It's not about you, not necessarily knowing everything, because you don't have to know everything to kind of step into a situation. You can definitely continue to learn things. You can definitely continue to build those skills. And so I became president, definitely had some successes, definitely had a lot of failures also. But in the particular the successes were the program still kept going, the after school program still got to go. I became like a placeholder so that the organization could continue after I wasn't president anymore. But then like the failures were like, okay, I wasn't an effective communicator, being the leader of a team, which is not the quality that you should have as a leader of a team. And then just some kind of other failures, like I didn't build a big enough executive team. I didn't kind of have that marketing aspect. I didn't have that communication factor. And I definitely learned a lot about myself from that experience. But during that, I had to come out of, my particular reservations. I had to speak out loud because I had to, ask people to do things. I had to delegate. I had to kind of be that particular example, with being somebody who was already in the organization and knew stuff about the organization already. So yeah, and I just had to be there in order to make sure that after school program kept running, because those kids relied on that after school program. Those kids relied on us coming every week and seeing them at a certain time. And I grew also to just love the kids too. So you have to just kind of overcome self, and overcome what you're comfortable with in order to make sure that everybody else around you is as comfortable as possible. So yeah, y'all, this is it. Thank you, Mr. Neva, Coach T, all the other names for coming today and kind of speaking. I had like another kind of thing to put up, but I can literally just read it because it's going to take too much time. But yeah, Tanira, I always like fail at this part, but basically we end our sessions with jewels, and I don't tell my guest speakers that you're supposed to have a jewel prepared. So if you have one, you have one. If you don't, then I have like
saying it all easy. You just got to say, yo, what's your jewel?
Okay, but she gonna look at me like, what is that? She knows what it is because she follow you on Instagram. But
yeah,
I watch them every day.
Every day. But yeah. So you got one?
Yeah,
I do.
See?
Okay.
My jewel definitely would be, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone sometimes. Like, it's okay to be scared to step out of your comfort zone, but you know, one step at a time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got
Yeah.
one too.
Oh yeah,
That
what's
was
yours?
her.
Yes, what's yours?
Mine is value yourself and demand your respect.
I like that.
Yeah. So there you go. There y'all go. Thank you all for participating in my TED Talk. And I'll see you tomorrow at 12.
Yes, tomorrow at 12. Thank y'all
No,
so much.
12:30. You're
Oh
welcome.
yeah, 12:30. Yeah, we got the lieutenant governor coming at 12.
Yeah.
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 All right, and we're gonna talk about that later. Right?
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Cool, cool, cool. Thank you, Miss T,
Welcome.
Coach T.
All the things. All the
Very
things.
inspiring conversation. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Thank you so very much.
You're
All
welcome.
right, y'all. That is it for the day. Success sessions, man. I feel like we had what, y'all?
Huh?
What,
I
y'all?
can't hear
You in the
y'all no
ghetto?
more. I'm
She
in
in
the
the ghetto.
ghetto.
She's in the ghetto right now. She's sorry, y'all. We had a great day aside from this ghetto moment that Miss Mo just had. I'm excited about tomorrow. Who we got again? We got Miss Ann coming tomorrow. Like I told you earlier, Miss Ann has been everywhere. So we're going to talk to her about her trips to Africa, being in the Amazon, right now being stuck in Germany. So that's going to be good. So I'm going to post that later. And then also we got the Lieutenant Governor. So me and Miss Mo are going to get this together tonight. So we'll probably be asking two of our young people to facilitate that conversation with him because we won't have a whole hour with him, just like half of that. And we want to make sure that we make the best use of his time and that he's able to hear directly from our young people. So we had to make some special accommodations for him though. So we're going to try to work some of those things out. But other than that, man, that's it. I will see y'all tomorrow, 10 a.m. with Miss Simone. Y'all already know, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Success sessions, y'all. This is where you're gonna be successful. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah. Love y'all.
Bye.